Chapter 225. Late at night, back palace kitchen. Exalted Goddess, I found out what you asked me to investigate previously. The Demon King lowered his voice and said seriously. So fast, Lone Moon turned back in surprise. How is it? Young Emperor's guess was right. The former Demon King might really still be alive. The Demon King nodded. I sent 10 sky fiends to scout around the demon world. Indeed, many demons claim to have seen his tracks. Lone Moon frowned. Ever since he saw that damned demonic book, he guessed that the person behind the scenes, even if it was not the former Demon King, was closely related to him. Where is he? I don't know yet. The Demon King shook his head. I only heard some rumors, but the location is very complicated. There is no accurate address at all. I also interrogated those demons who were hiding in the immortal world. According to them, the former Demon King has lost contact with them for hundreds of thousands of years. They don't even know that the Demon King of the demon world has changed. Even that sky fiend called Z-Chun. This was difficult. Lone Moon's frown deepened. If even Little Black could not find him, then the others would not be able to. Then how did you become the Demon King? Shining suddenly asked. The Demon King faltered. He did not understand why she asked that, but still answered honestly. I defeated the former Demon King, so naturally I am the new Demon King. He said with some pride. The demons were always simple and violent. Whoever was strong was the Demon King. Back then, I beat him up like a grandson. I thought he was dead. I didn't think that means you were the last person to see him. Shun Ing said. Huh? The Demon King was stunned. Lone Moon's eyes brightened. He pulled Little Black over and asked, Where did you fight? Near the joyous melody abyss in the demon world. The Demon King replied. The Demon King replied, At that time, our cultivation levels were equal, and we fought for 7 to 8 days. In the end, I used all my strength to disperse his demon spirit, and he fell into the joyous melody abyss. He shouldn't have survived. Could he be hiding there? Where is the joyous melody abyss? If he guessed correctly, the former Demon King had deliberately faked his death. The joyous melody abyss is in the easternmost part of the demon world. It's near the border. They had chosen to fight there because they were afraid of destroying the demon world. Let's go now and take a look there. All right. The Demon King nodded. Just as the two of them were about to leave the house, have a safe trip, a familiar voice sounded behind him. Lone Moon's footsteps faltered as he walked out of the door. His face darkened. He turned around and picked up a certain someone who was still slumped on the chair. You go too, but Master, she... And you. He turned to look at a certain someone who was holding a plate of flavored prawns. Ching. Master hasn't even eaten supper yet? Shun Ing. Damn it. If she had known earlier, she wouldn't have said anything. Little Black. This young Lord Lone Moon seemed to be even more powerful than Exalted Goddess. He had one more thigh to cling to. 3 days later, in the demon world's joyous Lulin Abyss. The reason why the joyous Melody Valley was called this was because there were many narrow valleys there, especially one that was so deep that one could not see the bottom. It would take 4 to 6 hours to reach the bottom of the valley. Moreover, there was a strong wind in the valley. Every time the wind blew, the entire valley would resound with all kinds of echoes. It was like a piece of music reverberating in the valley, hence the name Joyful Melody Valley. This was the border of the demon realm. Further east was the land of nothingness. The demonic chi here was thin, and it was a barren land. There were no signs of human habitation within a radius of 1,000 miles. There had never been any demons who set foot here. Back then, the Demon King thought that the former Demon King Zhan Ting was dead because he had destroyed his demon spirit and knocked him into the deepest valley. But from the looks of it now, this is what you meant by uninhabited? The corner of Lone Moon's mouth twitched. He pointed at the demonic city in front of them, which was even larger than the Invincible Palace. Uninhabited my *s. Wasn't there a freaking demonic city at the bottom of this valley? These densely packed figures, if they weren't demons, could they be immortals? The Demon King was also confused. He didn't know that there was such a huge demonic city at the bottom of this valley. I don't know what's going on either. The Demon King stared at the demonic city in front of him. His legs turned to jelly as he hurriedly hugged Shen Ying's thigh. Exalted Goddess, listen to my explanation. If I really knew, I wouldn't have brought you here. All right. Lone Moon sighed. Look at how useless he was. Did he become the Demon King by acting cute? Let's go into the city and take a look. It looks like that enchanting is most likely in this city. Wait. Seeing that they were about to enter the city, the Demon King hurriedly took out a few black talismans. Exalted Goddess, these are the demon gathering talismans that I prepared. They can gather demonic chi around your body. This way, other people won't be able to see the immortal chi on your body. When immortals entered the demonic city, they were like lighted lamps. Any demon would be able to see through them at one glance. If that enchanting was really in the city, it would be easy to alert the enemy. Thank you. The three of them took the talismans, and Lone Moon immediately stuck them on his body. Indeed, very quickly like the Demon King, his body was instantly surrounded by some black demonic chi. Shen looked at it curiously and imitated the two of them, slapping the talismans on her chest. In the next moment, wisps of black chi seemed to be attracted by something and gathered over. The strange thing was that the demonic chi didn't surround her body tightly like Lone Moon and I Ching. Instead, it stopped 1 meter away from Shen. As if it was afraid of something, it didn't dare to move forward and could only circle around 1 meter away from her. In a short while, it wrapped her up into a 1 meter radius black egg. It's done. Shen looked up. Done my ass. The corner of Lone Moon's mouth twitched. This was even more freaking obvious than before when there was no demonic chi. Are you blind? Where exactly did you see that it's done? Aya, so troublesome. Shen sighed. How about, little black, give me another talisman. All right. The Demon King immediately handed over another talisman. Without hesitation, Shen directly slapped it on her chest. Then, the egg became even bigger. I Ching, Lone Moon, little black, what the hell? Why didn't even the demonic chi dare to go near Shen? Were all things in the demonic world so cowardly? Lone Moon took a deep breath before going forward and pulling off the 2 talismans on Shen Ying's chest. The demonic chi egg disappeared instantly. You don't have to stick it on anymore. Anyway, with her little presence, it would be difficult for others to find her. Oh, also, after we enter the city, we'll find a place to rest. You and Chef stay there and don't move. Wait for us to come back, all right? Oh, where are you guys going? What else? A ball of anger surged in Lone Moon's chest. Aren't we here to find the whereabouts of the former Demon King Zhan Ting? Of course we're going to find out. Oh, is that useful? We have to try even if it's useless. Do you think Zhan Ting is a pie that will fall from the sky if we don't look for him? Thump! Before he could finish, a figure suddenly fell from the sky and landed at the feet of the 4 of them. Instantly, a 1 meter deep human-shaped hole was formed. A man in black was lying in the hole, his entire body twitching. He turned around and revealed a handsome face. Zhan Ting, little black exclaimed. Yo, the Demon King really fell from the sky. Lone Moon, I Ching, Chapter 226. Help me. Zhan Ting reached out a trembling hand from the bottom of the pit. The 4 of them looked at each other. Little Black then took a step forward and reached out to drag him out from the bottom of the pit. Then, he tied him up tightly. What are you trying to do? Zhan Ting was tied up like a dumpling. Only then did he realize that something was wrong. He glared at them. Who are you? I'm warning you. Let me go now, or you'll suffer. Zhan Ting, you're indeed still alive. Little Black glanced at him. Not only that, his cultivation level did not decrease by much. You. Jean Ting glanced at him. Then his eyes widened. Li Yin, what are you doing here? His expression turned cold, and he said warily, I've already given you the position of Demon King. What else do you want? Pooey, Little Black, glared at him. I clearly won the position of Demon King with my own abilities. But I want you to give it to me. Then why did you tie me up? I'm just an ordinary demon living in seclusion in the joyful Melody Valley. I'm not a threat to you. Don't worry, I won't do anything to you. It's just that the exalted goddess wants to ask you a few questions about the past. He said seriously, you better answer honestly. Exalted goddess. Jean Ting was stunned. Then he looked at the others. What questions? It's about the time you wanted to send people to open the gates of the demon realm. Lone Moon took a step forward and said in a low voice. Jean Ting frowned. Then he nodded and said, All right, I have nothing to hide anyway. Ask whatever you want to know. But I have something urgent to attend to now. You have to let me go back first. The few of them were silent for a while. They turned to look at the demon city not far away and hesitated. Don't worry. Jean Ting rolled his eyes. I won't escape. The demons in the city have no fighting spirit. They won't be able to hurt you. Everyone looked at each other. Little Black then untied him and cast a spell to prevent him from escaping. Then they followed him into the city. After the few of them entered the city, they finally understood why Jean Ting said that the demons in the city would not be able to hurt them. Because they were weak, they were simply too weak. Along the way, the devils they met on the streets were all ordinary little devils. The highest cultivation was only at the 4th or 5th rank, not to mention the Sky Devil level. Even a Xian immortal would be able to wipe them out, let alone the fact that the weakest among them was a young lord. Everyone was a little surprised. They didn't expect that such a large demon city would be filled with low-level demons. Jean Ting walked very quickly, as if he was really in a hurry to do something. As he walked, he urged them, Aya, you guys should walk faster. It'll be too late if you're late. A few of them were dumbfounded. They followed him all the way to a tall palace hall before stopping. Unlike the black buildings in the city, this palace was actually white. Jean Ting seemed to be extremely familiar with this place, as he led the few of them into the back door. Straight face, after passing through a backyard filled with all kinds of unknown flowers and a clear pond, he finally arrived in front of a small building at the back. The small building was very exquisite. The building was filled with white muslin, and wisps of white aura swept past from time to time. This is... Lone Moon was shocked. He looked at the aura around him in disbelief. Yes, immortal chi. I Ching nodded. There was actually immortal chi in the demon city. Before they could be shocked, Jean Ting walked forward quickly and stopped in front of the small building. Then, without any hesitation, he knelt in front of the door and shouted loudly. Wife, your husband was wrong. I shouldn't have disobeyed you and wandered around instead of cultivating. I shouldn't have fought with little demons and bullied the weak. I shouldn't have ignored my duties and only wanted to stay in your house. I shouldn't have wanted to kill the little demon next door just because he looked at you. I'm really wrong. I won't dare to do it again. On account that I've knelt outside for 3 days. Can you let me in? Shunning, I Ching, Lone Moon, Little Black. What the hell? It turned out that he had rushed back in such a hurry just to apologize to his wife. Wife. Jean Ting was already scratching the door anxiously. He howled loudly, and his words were numbing. I haven't seen you for 3 days. My heart is breaking. It's all my fault. Just let me in, okay? I promise I won't do it again. Just come out and see me, all right? Before he finished speaking, a gust of immortal chi suddenly came from inside the house. It controlled the white muslin downstairs and whipped it toward Jean Ting. With a loud slap, he was sent flying back into the courtyard and even rolled twice. A clear palm print appeared on his originally handsome face. Jean Ting was not angry. Instead, his eyes lit up as if he had received a great reward. He climbed up excitedly and pounced towards the door. Wife, you're finally willing to care about me. I knew that you still care about me. As long as you can forgive me, feel free to hit me. With that said, he raised the other half of his face and moved closer. Everyone, F asterisk king retard. Instantly, they understood who the person in the house was and why there was a mortal chi here. Two words appeared in their minds. Chui Hua. Is there anyone else? A cold female voice suddenly came from inside the house. Zhang Ting was stunned, as if he just remembered that there were people following behind him. He turned and glared at them before answering. It's just some people who are unwilling to give up. Wife. Just as he was about to explain, the door creaked open. In an instant, an immortal aura that was even denser than before flowed out from the inside. A figure slowly walked out. She was dressed in white, and her hair was as black as ink. Her expression was a little cold, but her beauty was astonishing. Like an orchid in an empty valley, she gave people an inexplicable sense of holiness. She seemed to be the most perfect masterpiece of the heavens. No one could find a single flaw. The four people present were all stunned. They had seen many beauties before, but it was the first time they had seen someone so beautiful. Even Shuning, who was a woman, was shocked. Wife. Zhang Ting instantly stuck towards the person inside the house like a soft worm. However, when he was swept by the other party's cold gaze, he froze on the spot and looked aggrieved. I said, "Don't appear in front of me again." The woman's brows furrowed slightly. Wife, I was really wrong. Zhang Ting looked like he was about to cry. Please forgive me. I promise to listen to you in the future. I will definitely not pester you in the morning. I will stop as many times as you want me to. Before he could finish speaking, the woman's expression darkened. She waved her hand and conjured a wind spell, sweeping him up and throwing him out. Zhang Ting instantly turned into a black dot in the sky and disappeared in the courtyard. Shuning, I Ching, Lone Moon, Little Black, did they just hear some sexual content? Chapter 227. You're from the immortal world? The woman looked at the crowd in surprise. She frowned and asked worriedly, why did you come to the demon realm? The few of them were stunned for a moment. They did not expect that she would be able to see through their identity at a glance. Immediately, they turned their heads to look at her. What kind of lousy talisman was this? Little Black, what does this have to do with me? I don't know how she could tell. You don't have to be nervous. I mean you no harm. As if sensing their concerns, the woman explained, I just didn't expect that there would be other immortals in the demon realm other than myself. She made a hand seal, as though she was dispelling some sort of technique. In an instant, the immortal chi around her body became even denser, as though it was about to materialize. Heavenly the Arch, Lone Moon exclaimed. He did not expect that she would actually have celestial emperor cultivation. No wonder she could see through their identities. Perhaps you have heard of me. She sighed and gave him a kind smile. She said in a low voice, I am Zhuohua, the Bo Si Celestial Emperor. I Ching Shining Little Black Bo. See. The corner of Lone Moon's mouth twitched. He pointed to Chef beside him and said, what a coincidence, he's also the Bo Si Celestial Emperor. Also, what happened to Chui Hua? How did it become Zhuohua? Was Zhang Ting illiterate? This. Zhuohua was shocked. She didn't react until Lone Moon and I Ching took off the talismans in front of their chests. She sighed. After leaving the immortal realm for so many years, I didn't expect the Bo Si to have a new celestial emperor. Not only that, but it had been changed twice. Celestial Emperor Zhuohua. Lone Moon stepped forward. Why are you in the demon realm? Could it be Zhang Ting? Well, not all of them. She frowned, as if she was unwilling to go into details. She invited them to sit at the side before she slowly said, how did you enter the demon world? The demon realm has long been sealed, so it should be impossible for immortals to reach it. The few of them fell silent for a moment. Lone Moon then said in a low voice, don't you know that the immortal realm and the demonic realm have merged into one? What? Zhuohua was shocked. She stood up abruptly and clenched her fists. How could this happen? As expected, the demon race is not worthy of trust. Back then, it was to stop the invasion of the demon world. Who would have thought that the current demon king is also a wolf with wild ambitions? It will definitely trigger a war between the two worlds. Just as she finished speaking, Xiao Hei's legs went soft, and he almost fell off the chair. Hey, don't talk nonsense. How am I a wolf with wild ambitions? I didn't do anything, okay? Damn it. What if the exalted goddess misunderstood? He turned around and hugged Xinying's thigh. Exalted goddess, the merger of the two realms has nothing to do with me. You have to believe me. Get lost. His snot was all over his legs. You're the Demon King. Zhuohua was shocked. Only now did she recognize Xiao He. That's right. I'm the Demon King Xiao He, the embodiment of love and justice. My greatest interest in life is peace, the kind that is pure and kind. If anyone dares to start a war between immortals and demons, I will fight them. Exalted goddess, please look at my pure eyes. Lollipop, Lone Moon, I Ching, you're a demon king. Can't you have some integrity? This is so embarrassing. I really want to pretend that I don't know this fellow. Zhuohua. Isn't the new demon king called Liyin? Did he change it too? Cough that. Lone Moon coughed and kicked the demon king to the side. Don't worry. The immortal and demon realms have already reconciled. There won't be a war between the two realms. As long as Xinying was around, traveling between the immortal and demon realms would be as easy as traveling in a mirror. How can it be? She was shocked and did not look like she had recovered from her shock. The immortals and demons had been at odds for a long time. Both sides had always been at each other's throats. She did not expect that there would be a day when they would reconcile. Celestial Emperor Zhuohua, we're here this time because of the gate to the demonic realm. We have some questions to ask the former Demon King Zhanting. Lone Moon hesitated for a moment, but still told her their purpose. The gate to the demonic realm? Zhuohua frowned. Lone Moon thought that she would not agree easily. After all, her staying in the demon realm must have something to do with Zhanting. He thought for a moment and added, we feel that the merging of the immortal and demon realms this time has something to do with the gate to the demonic realm that Zhanting left in the immortal realm. So, all right. Surprisingly, she agreed immediately. She turned to look at the door and said coldly, get in here. All right, I'm coming. Zhanting instantly flashed in from outside the door and smiled brightly. Madam, you're finally willing to see me. I knew that your heart is still aching. Shut up. Oh. Zhanting immediately turned into an aggrieved quail. Zhuohua seemed to be too lazy to care about him. She turned to look at them. Please ask whatever you want. With that said, she glared at Zhanting. Answer them properly. All right, madam. No problem, madam. Zhanting immediately stood up straight. He was as obedient as he could be. He turned to look at them, but his expression changed instantly. He returned to his domineering demon king appearance. It was a seamless change. What is it? Ask quickly, I'm busy. Everyone, the demon realm was indeed a place without integrity. Lone Moon was the first to react. He asked in a low voice, we want to know that the gates to the demon realm were created by you. How did you know that opening the gates at the Emperor Ascension stage would cause the two realms to merge? And the one who pulled Xinying and I into this world, was it you? What Emperor Ascension stage? The merging of the two realms? Zhanting looked confused. The gates to the demon realm were indeed created by me. When the demon realm was sealed, Cui Hua and I were separated by two realms. That was why I took advantage of the loosening of the seal to send the demons under me to the immortal realm and set up the gates to the demon realm at a specific location in the Bo Sea. Bo Sea. Lone Moon was shocked. He suddenly had a bad feeling. Could it be that's right? Zhanting nodded and said with some pride, Cui Hua was the celestial emperor of the Bo Sea at that time. Of course the gates had to be set up there. That gate was actually just a special teleportation array, and it had to be assembled to be useful. That was why once the gates were set up, I activated the array and brought her over. Holy shit. Indeed, this outcome was not surprising at all. What was going on? Then why did the demons you sent all think that the gates to the demon realm were a passageway that connected the two realms? Otherwise, Zichen would not have tried so hard to open the gates. Oh, that was because I lied to them. Zhanting answered calmly. If he did not make a big fuss, who would be willing to help him find a wife in the immortal realm? Actually, that gate could not be opened at all. Everyone, damn it, he was too shameless. So the so-called plan to invade the immortal realm was just a scam to find a wife? Suddenly, They wanted to light a candle for the demons who had been hiding in the immortal realm for so many years just to open the gates to the demon realm. Such a henpecked man could not be the mastermind, definitely. Back then, I was indeed teleported to this realm by the demonic gate. Joao stepped forward and explained. That gate had a disguise spell on it, but it was really just a teleportation array. And after it was teleported once, it should have lost its effect. Lone Moon fell silent, his frown deepening. They had seen the gates to the demon realm twice. That was clearly a passageway that connected the two realms, and then it directly merged the two realms. But there was no need for enchanting to lie to them. If the gates to the demon realm were really just a teleportation array, then something must have happened along the way. But who could have tampered with the gates to the demon realm? And these demonic gates were only set up in the Bow Sea. But the first time they saw them, they were at Feng Song's invincible sect. They kept feeling that this matter was getting more and more complicated. All the clues from before came to an abrupt end here. For a moment, everyone was silent. Chef, do you have a pen and paper? Shen Ying suddenly spoke. This? I Ching faltered. After a while, he took out a piece of white cloth and a bowl of black liquid. Master, will brocade and soy sauce do? He only brought these. Will do. She took them and placed them on the table. What are you doing? Lone Moon asked curiously. Shen Ying did not answer. I Ching had already conjured a brush and passed it over. Only then did she start drawing on the brocade. After a while, she put down the brush and pointed to the pattern on it. Have you seen this before? Everyone looked down and saw a crooked pendant drawn on the white cloth. It looked like a jade pendant. The style was also very ordinary, but there was a strange pattern drawn in the center of the jade. Zhan Ting's eyes widened. This pattern is... Chapter 228. Godfiend's Seal. Little Black exclaimed before Zhan Ting could finish a sentence. What Godfiend's Seal? Lone Moon frowned and asked anxiously. The Godfiend's Seal is the contract seal of my race. Little Black explained. This seal will only appear when one swears on his own demon spirit and makes a contract with the demon Tao. Just like an immortal's heavenly Tao oath, once it is made, the contract will be protected by the God Fiend and must be completed. Otherwise, this seal will make the person who made the contract pay a greater price. But the God Fiend contract cannot be made unless one is a Sky Fiend or above, otherwise the God Fiend will not respond. Contract? Lone Moon looked at the picture on the jade pendant carefully. Shen Ying, where did you see this picture? Wait. This jade pendant can't be the one Hui Ling wore on her neck back then, right? Yes. Shen Ying nodded. Shit, it was true. You think the person who gave Hui Ling this jade pendant made a God Fiend contract with her. That's why he could pull you into the middle realm. It's not a contract. Shen Ying tilted her head and said, it's the person himself. Huh? What do you mean? He did not react for a moment. What been? God Fiend. You're saying that this jade pendant was given to Hui Ling by the God Fiend? He stood up abruptly and looked at Shen Ying in shock. The rest of the people present were also shocked. Yes. Shen Ying nodded calmly and turned to look at I Ching. Did you bring fruits? She felt that something was missing. Yes. I Ching reflexively took out his storage bag. That's impossible. Little Black shook his head forcefully. Exalted Goddess, the God Fiend, is the ancestor of my race. The demon world and the entire demon race were created by him. He is in existence like the heavenly Tao or even the god of creation. He has always appeared in legends. No one knows if he really exists. Even if he exists, why would he give such a jade pendant to an immortal cultivator instead of a citizen of the demon race? There was no point in doing this. No, it's possible. I Ching looked up at them. For the two realms to merge. Everyone was stunned and reacted instantly. If there really was a demon god in this world, then there was indeed the divine power to merge the two worlds. Naturally, it was also possible for him and Shen Ying to transmigrate to this world. I Ching and Lone Moon thought even deeper. Back then, Hui Ling had used this jade pendant to pull Shen Ying into the middle realm. By right, it was not that easy to cross the realm gate. It would have been fine if they had entered the mortal realm. If one were to enter a higher realm like the God world, It would be very difficult to enter unless one ascended. Not to mention the fringe realm that he had never heard of. Perhaps only the demonic god had this ability. Moreover, Shun power could not be understood by those who had not personally witnessed it. Shun was the only one in the entire immortal realm who could stop the merging of the immortal and demonic realms. Locking her up in the underworld was the best solution. Even if she couldn't be trapped, she could at least buy some time. In fact, although Hui Ling's actions were stupid, it did divert their attention. Even after repelling the enemy, they were only focused on getting the celestial emperors to return to their bodies from the radishes, and did not pay attention to the situation at the gate to the demonic realm. You mean, the demonic god merged the immortal and demonic realms? Zhuohua, who finally understood what was going on, frowned and turned to look at Zhang Ting. Then where is this demonic god now? The two demon kings were stunned. After a while, Zhang Ting said with a fawning expression, "Madam, just as Li Yin said, the existence of the demonic god is just a legend. No one knows if it's real or not. No one has ever seen the real demonic god, so no one can find him. Then let him come find us," Shun suddenly said. Everyone was stunned and turned to look at her in confusion. What did she mean? Does exalted goddess have a way? Little Black's eyes lit up, and he started to flatter her out of habit. You are indeed the exalted goddess. You are so wise, brave, and omnipotent. Then how can we let the demonic god come find us? Shun finished the fruit in her hand in a few bites and turned to look at Little Black. She suddenly grinned at him, revealing a kind expression that she had never shown before. Little Black shivered for no reason, and all the hairs on his body stood on end. Little Black, yes. The weather is pretty good today. Why don't you make a vow for fun? The kind that requires the demonic god's seal. Huh? Sigma Q. P, was he deaf? 6 hours later. Exalted goddess, do I really have to make a vow? Yes. Shun nodded. Exalted goddess, making a vow with a demonic spirit is a very important matter. We need to consider it carefully. Why don't we change it to another day? Exalted goddess, why don't we change the content of the vow? I am a demon king after all. This is my first time making a vow with a demonic spirit. I should at least make a great vow to help exalted goddess unify the 3 realms. Not interested. Exalted goddess, why don't you unify the demon world for fun? The demon world is especially fun. I'm not playing. Exalted goddess, Zhang Ting is also a demon king. What's more, he's been a demon king for longer than me. The effect of making a vow is better. Why don't we change it to him? Not familiar. Exalted goddess, shut up and go. All right. A certain demon king finally gave up and lowered his head. With a bitter expression, he walked to the center of the courtyard, looking like he was about to cry. With a pair of red rabbit-like eyes, he set up an array and conjured a seal at the same time. I don't want to be a demon king at all anymore. Shun. Perhaps because Little Black's eyes were filled with resentment, Lone Moon could not help but nudge the person beside him. Are you really sure that this demonic spirit contract can draw out this so-called god fiend? I'm not sure. Shun shook her head seriously. Lone Moon, I Ching, black and white. So, you're just going to let Little Black try to die? Don't worry, nothing will happen. It was not a big vow. Shun subconsciously took a step forward and stood closer to the crying demon king. Little Black had already finished setting up the array. He even set up more than 10 defensive arrays in one go. Then, he stood in the center of the array and took a few deep breaths, as if he was desperately preparing himself for something. After a while, he turned to look at Shun. Exalted goddess, can't we change the vow? Shun did not answer. She only raised the fruit in her hand and opened her mouth to bite into it. Little Black's figure shrank, and he immediately stood back in the array. Then, he raised his hand high and channeled demonic chi into his voice. He shouted loudly, "The oath of heaven, the supreme god of the demon Tao, the king of the demon world, Li Yin, hereby swears by the demon spirit to follow the laws of heaven and earth, to obey the rules of the great Tao. Tonight, I must let exalted goddess Shun eat sweet dumplings. If I break this vow, I am willing to bear the heavy punishment of the god fiend." In a moment, His loud voice spread throughout the entire demon city and did not stop for a long time. The city, little black, this is too embarrassing. I want to cry. Intersection, chef. Yes. Make salty dumplings tonight. Yes, master. No problem, master. Little black, lone moon, black and white. This was not what they agreed on. Chapter 229. The sky suddenly darkened. They were already at the bottom of the valley, but now the sky was filled with dark clouds and the wind was surging. The sky was dark, and even the surrounding air seemed to have become heavy. Before anyone could react, a purple lightning bolt descended from the sky and entered Blackie's glabella at an extremely fast speed. In the next moment, a red pattern identical to the one on the jade pendant appeared on his glabella. It really is the God-Fiend's seal. Lone Moon was shocked. He did not expect such a ridiculous oath to really trigger the God-Fiend seal. Indeed, as long as one was a Sky Fiend or above, they could trigger this. Blackie touched his body subconsciously. Fortunately, he was not missing an arm or a leg. He heaved a sigh of relief and turned to Shunning. Exalted Goddess, I didn't. Master, the salty dumplings are ready. Before he could finish speaking, I Ching suddenly held up a big string of dumplings. Did he have to be so fast? He did it on purpose. He definitely did it. Oh, greater than over equal to greater than over equal to. Oh, exalted goddess, you'll be stuffed after eating the pastries. Do you want to eat later? He said seriously. Master, I prepared spirit tea. He took out a cup of tea. Exalted goddess, the pastries and dumplings are so dry. You'll choke if you eat them together. He continued to persuade. Master, I have fruits here. He took out a fruit. Exalted goddess, look at the freshly wrapped dumplings. It will take some time to cook them. Why don't you eat the sweet ones first? Master, the water manipulation deviant fire art is done. He handed it to her. For all, Flip's table. Can't you just let me be a demon properly? I Ching, no one can doubt my professionalism. Exalted goddess. Blackie knelt on the ground and cried loudly. The consequences of going against the God-Fiend contract are really serious. Why don't you reconsider? Gee, a certain someone who had already eaten half a dumpling asked. What did you say? Blackie, I Ching, everyone, boom. The clouds that had just dispersed gathered again. This time, it was even darker than before. There was not a single ray of white light in the sky. Only faint red lightning could be seen. A strong gust of wind swept through the entire demon city. Even the ground started to shake. The others were fine, but Little Black and enchanting seemed to have sensed something and knelt down subconsciously. Suddenly, a red light flashed, and the sky seemed to be torn apart by something. A huge red lightning broke through the air and struck down in the direction of Blackie. Sky punishment. Blackie's face immediately paled. The pressure of the world within the red light was so strong that he couldn't even lift his head. Even the demon spirit within his body was trembling. His heart immediately turned cold. It was just a violation of contract, yet this heavenly punishment was too heavy. Seeing that the lightning was about to strike him, he subconsciously turned towards Shunning. Exalted goddess, out of the way. Before he could finish, he felt his collar tighten. Shunning suddenly reached out and pulled him out of the range of the lightning. In the next moment, there was a loud boom. The red lightning directly exploded on Shunying's body. The dozen or so arrays that Little Black Cloth had set up were all destroyed in an instant, and the ground glowed red. Shunning stood in the red light, looking up at the dark sky. Master, I Ching stepped forward worriedly. Seeing that she was safe and sound, he heaved a sigh of relief. That lightning, out of the way. Shunning suddenly interrupted him. Everyone was stunned. Before they could react, they subconsciously looked up and saw that two more red lightning bolts had suddenly appeared above their heads. They were heading towards them at an extremely fast speed. Holy shit! Even Lone Moon was shocked. The lightning seemed to have appeared out of nowhere. No one could react in time. What was going on? Was this God-Fiend blind? It was clearly Blackie's heavenly punishment. Why was it striking them? Chef! Shunning turned around and was about to rush over to pull him back. Suddenly, as if sensing something, she retracted her hand. Huh? In the blink of an eye, a huge patch of red light enveloped the entire courtyard. One lightning bolt after another struck down, bringing with it an earth-shattering pressure. The strange thing was, I'm fine. Black had touched his body and found no injuries at all. He hurriedly used his demonic chi to test it out. Be it his cultivation level, demon spirit, or even his meridians, they were all unharmed. How could this be? This was clearly the lightning of heavenly punishment, scarier than any lightning tribulation. Yet he was completely fine. Exalted Goddess, what exactly? Exalted Goddess? Where's Exalted Goddess? He looked around, only to find that Shunning was no longer in front of him. What's going on? It's not just her. Zhan Ting suddenly spoke. Those two immortal cultivators are gone too. What's going on? Underscore. This was an endless stretch of water. The surface of the water was exceptionally calm. It was like a mirror of the sky, reflecting the entire blue sky and white clouds. A man dressed in black stood between heaven and earth. His long hair reached the ground, and he stood barefooted. Compared to the good looks of people from both the immortal and demonic realms, he looked very ordinary. At most, he could be considered decent. He had the kind of face that no one would notice. However, his red eyes were exceptionally special. The corners of his mouth were slightly raised with a hint of a smile. Large patches of fire-like red lotuses bloomed under his feet. Although he looked ordinary, he gave off an exceptionally seductive feeling. You wanted to see me? He suddenly spoke. His voice was not loud, but it was somewhat ethereal. It was as if the entire heaven and earth were responding to him. Shun-ing. Shinning nodded. She did not panic at all when she was suddenly pulled into a foreign world. God Fiend? The man did not mind her overly calm reaction. After a moment of silence, he nodded. He still had that somewhat friendly smile on his face. Yes, I am a God Fiend. Where's Chef and Father Nyo? She looked around and asked. The God Fiend glanced at her and gently raised his hand. Instantly, the calm water beneath his feet rippled. Slowly, an image that looked like a projection appeared. Two huge lotuses appeared on it. Lone Moon and I Ching were lying in the lotuses. They seemed to be in a deep sleep. This is my divine realm. The bodies of all living beings in the three realms cannot withstand the divine power here. That's why I can only let them sleep first. He explained. Then, he looked up at her. Except for you. Oh. Shinning glanced at the two people in the lotuses. Then, she sat cross-legged on the water surface and continued to chew on her fruit. I have a few questions to discuss with you. What do you want to know? Did you give Hui Ling's jade pendant? Yes. Was the merging of the immortal and demonic realms your idea? That's true. Did you prepare the book that Father Nyo was reading? That's right. We transmigrated to this world because of you. Basically. Then I have one last question. Please ask. If I beat you up now, is it against the law? Until you can't even take care of yourself. The God Fiend's smile stiffened. After a while, he took a deep breath. Shinning, I know your situation is special, but this is my divine realm. I am the ancient god who created the three realms. You can't hurt me. Is that so? Shinning tilted her head and pulled out a fruit knife from somewhere. She casually stabbed it into the water. There was a cracking sound, and a white crack appeared on the surface of the water. It looked like a broken mirror. Do you want me to try? The God Fiend. Chapter 230. Everything I'm doing is for the three realms. The God Fiend subconsciously took a step back and said earnestly, Shunning, didn't you also guess that something was wrong? I took the initiative to show myself to you in order to explain this matter. No. Shunning shook her head. More accurately, I lured you out. The corner of his mouth twitched. All right, I believe that you are not an unreasonable person. Otherwise, you could have made me appear in the demon realm as soon as I sent down the first heavenly punishment on the little demon king. You wouldn't have waited for me to summon you to the god realm, even though you had clearly discovered my existence. No. Shinning looked confused. I didn't see you just now. Didn't you look up just now? Did you see him? Oh, I wanted to sneeze. He wanted to drink some tea to calm himself down, but he pulled him in. What was with this urge to spit out a mouthful of blood to kill her? A while later, let's talk about the matter between the immortal and demonic realms. The god fiend's calm face contorted several times before he regained his composure. I'm not interested in chatting anymore. Shuning calmly swung the fruit knife in her hand and was about to stand up. Wait! The god fiend's face paled, and he subconsciously took a step back. His eyes darted around, and he suddenly drew a line on the ground with his finger. Two figures floated out of the huge lotus below. It was I Ching and Lone Moon. Master! I Ching subconsciously took 2 steps towards Shuning. Shuning! Lone Moon was also confused. What is this place? What's going on? The divine realm. Shuning pointed her chin at the person opposite her and explained the god fiend. The god fiend. The two of them were shocked and looked at the man warily. This was the god fiend? Although their bodies cannot withstand the divine power here, it is not a problem for their primordial spirits to appear. The god fiend was still smiling at Shuning. In that case, are you willing to listen to my reason? Fighting would hurt their relationship. Shun Ying's brows relaxed a little. She then sat back down and put away her fruit knife. Speak. The god fiend's smile deepened. He said slowly, the reason why I am combining the 2 realms is not only for the fiend realm, but also for the 3 realms. As he spoke, he raised his hand, and the originally boundless sky-blue water suddenly darkened. The water source began to dry up, and a golden meandering stream vaguely appeared on the ground. However, the water in the stream was extremely sparse, and only a stream as thick as an arm could be faintly seen. It seemed like a pulsating meridian, and it extended into the distance with a dense golden light. Do you recognize this river? The demon god asked. River? The 3 of them looked down. This river was too precious. What river? This is the main branch of the river of forgetfulness that passes through the demon realm. He sighed deeply. Forget river? I'm sure you all know that in the beginning, this world was divided into 3 realms: heaven, earth, and man. The river of forgetfulness was the only river of samsara that flowed through the 3 realms. Just like a person's meridians, it branched out to every corner of the 3 realms. What is flowing in this river is not water, but the souls of all living things. Soul. Shuning narrowed her eyes. The river of forgetfulness gathers the souls of all living things, and also sends these souls to every corner of the 3 realms. Every drop of water is a soul. Whether it was a demon, a god, or a living thing, all living things in the 3 realms were once a part of the river of forgetfulness, and will eventually return to this river. This is the truth of the samsara of all living things. No wonder the power of samsara could cleanse everything, even demonic qi. Back then, Chun Gu sent Xian Tong into samsara for this reason. There were only souls in the river of forgetfulness, and naturally it could not contain anything else. And the reason why Xian Tong could not cleanse her demonic qi even after 3 samsara cycles was also because Chun Gu forcefully interfered and made her reincarnate directly. Her soul did not stay in the river of forgetfulness. Even beings with long lifespans like the immortal, demon, and god races can die. When that time comes, they will naturally return to the river of forgetfulness and enter samsara again. The original demon realm was the same. Original. Shun Ying caught the keyword. That's right, the original. The demon god nodded, frowning even more deeply. Suddenly, he waved his hand behind him. This is the main branch of the river of forgetfulness in the immortal realm. You will understand when you see it. Just as he finished speaking, a blinding light came rushing towards him. All he saw was a dazzling golden light, so wide that he could not see the end. It stretched for more than a few kilometers behind him, and he could not see the end of it at all. Half the sky was reflected in gold. This. Lone Moon stared at the wide main branch of the river of forgetfulness, and then looked at the small river of forgetfulness in the demon realm under his feet. How can this be? Wasn't the difference too big? Was he sure that the demon realm was also the main branch? The immortal realm, demon realm, and god realm originally belonged to the same realm. Originally, these 3 races belonged to the same main branch of the river of forgetfulness. But ever since the divine race ascended to the immortal realm and god realm were separated into two realms, causing the demon realm to be sealed. The main branch of the River of Forgetfulness was split into three and was not as good as before. The immortal realm and the mortal realm are connected. Although the divine realm is separated from the immortal realm, it is merged with the earth realm, so the impact is not very obvious. Only the demon realm was sealed outside the three realms. The River of Forgetfulness was isolated for many years, and as time passed, the river water dried up, and the people of the demon realm, souls cannot enter samsara. Lone Moon continued and looked up at the person in front of him. So, in order to save the demon realm, you merge the immortal realm and the demon realm into one, and let the river of forgetfulness of the demon realm flow through the three realms again. Yes. He nodded and resumed his faint smile, and no one could tell whether he was happy or angry. Then why did you pull me into this world? Lone Moon could not help but ask. If it was for the demon realm, he was one of the three ancient gods, and he definitely had the ability to merge the realms. Who could stop him? There was no need to pull him into this world at all, right? Although I am the God Fiend, I've already left the three realms. I cannot directly interfere with the matters of the three realms, and can only interfere indirectly. He explained in a low voice. You intend to let me open the door to the demon realm? Lone Moon was shocked. No, you're just a supporting person. The God Fiend shook his head. The spell on the door to the demon realm that Enchanting created is indeed a teleportation spell. But the material used to create the door is the heaven-opening stone that was left in the demon realm in ancient times. The Emperor Ascension stage is the heavenly pillar of the two realms. If the heaven-opening stone of the demon realm is placed on it, the two realms will naturally be connected to each other. So, the door to the demon realm can only be opened on the Emperor's Ascension stone. He nodded. After the demon realm was sealed, I calculated the most likely person to open the door to the demon realm on the heavenly pillar. Lone Moon pondered for a moment. Is it Chengge and Xiantong? Yes. He looked calmly at the two people beside Shining. But the success rate of this is only 50%. There is still a very important obstacle, and you're the only person who can eliminate this obstacle. That is why I summoned you into this world. Obstacle? Lone Moon was stunned for a moment. Suddenly, he thought of something and turned to look at the person beside him. I Ching. In the plot, the only person who can stop the door to the demon realm is him. The God Fiend's smile deepened. The answer was obvious. That is why you let that book appear in front of me. The corner of Lone Moon's mouth twitched. Only someone who understood the plot in advance would want to stop I Ching from sending himself to death. But is there a need for you to write these predictions into a novel? Are you a freaking writer? And the kind that will get your water meter checked. After I calculated all your reactions, I disguised it in the most suitable way to appear in front of you. The most suitable way isn't that Lone Moon's expression darkened. At the same time, two suspicious gazes landed on him. What are you looking at? A certain someone exploded. I told you I don't like to read pornographic books. Oh, *2*, oh, your sister. Retract that suspicious wavy line of yours. The God Fiend's face turned bright red. He turned to point at the person in front of him. Can you guys pay attention to the main point? That pornographic book is all a plot by him. I have no interest in it. From what I know, you read it 4 times. The God Fiend asked. Pop. The sound of bubbles bursting could be heard in the air. Lone Moon. Oh, the waves of ecstasy grew many times longer. Shut up. Vessel. Chapter 231. However, there was still a problem with my calculations. The demon realm turned to look at Shining. Something flashed across his eyes. What happened after that had already deviated from my calculations. That's why I chose Hui Ling. She was originally a puppet formed by a strand of Zi Chen's demonic aura. She accidentally entered the river of forgetfulness and was tainted by the aura of a soul. She was not a living being of the 3 realms. So when she made a wish to me to gain power, I answered her. It turned out that on the day of the competition, the strange white light that appeared in Hui Ling's jade pendant and the void realm that trapped Shining were really the power of the God Fiend. But did Hui Ling already know my identity from such a long time ago? It was no wonder that she had been targeting Shunying from the beginning. If she was really a manifestation of Chen's demonic
the ascension of a devil
then she
cultivator
naturally
from the
would
mortal
not be
realm
able to
was
resist the
equivalent
power
to
of
ascending to the devil
But the immortal realm,
Looking
and
at
the
it this
demonic
way,
realm,
have
the demon
always
world
been at
was a
odds
place
with each
where
other.
one could
Aren't you
only
afraid
enter
that
and
the
not
two
leave.
realms would
In the
really
long
end up
run,
fighting each
the
other?
number of
Aren't you
souls in the
afraid
demon
that the
realm
two
who could
realms
not
would
enter the
really
cycle
end
of
up
reincarnation
in a
would
terrible
increase,
situation?
and the
I
number of souls
suddenly
that could be
spoke up,
reincarnated
raising
in the
his head
three
to look at the
realms would
man
naturally
not far
decrease.
away. His
One day,
brows furrowed.
all living
If it
beings
weren't
would
for
go
Master,
extinct. The
therefore,
immortal realm,
life
and the
and
demonic
death are
realm
not
would have
important to
fought
me.
each other.
The balance of the
time
three
ago.
realms
Then,
is important.
What will be the point of
From the
merging the two
perspective
realms?
of the survival
Didn't
of
the
the
divine
entire
race
world,
seal
even
off
if the
demonic
entire
realm
immortal
to
and
avoid
demon
this?
realms were to
As an
die in
ancient
battle,
demon god,
they would just return
the
to the
creator
river
of the demon
of
race.
forgetfulness.
Are you
It
saving
had no
them
effect
or
on the world at
destroying
all.
them?
For a moment,
The moment he
both
said
of them were
this,
silent.
Lone Moon
What
was
about me?
stunned and
Shun
immediately
suddenly
reacted.
broke the silence.
That's right.
He
She
kept
looked
up
up
at the
saying
god
that he was going to
fiend
save
in front
them.
of her.
But the
What
merging
part
of the
of your plan
two
do I
realms would
play?
obviously
This.
lead to more
The smile on the god
sacrifices.
fiend's face
Their lives and
froze for a
deaths
moment.
are not
Then
within the
he
scope of my
smiled
consideration.
even more brilliantly.
His expression
Your
did
power
not
is
change,
special.
as if the
In order to
lives
prevent
and deaths
any
of the demons
accidents
were
from
completely
happening.
meaningless
So,
to him.
I'm kind of insurance?
The duo was
Heh heh heh.
infuriated. A trace
All
of
I worry
guilt
about is
flashed
balance.
across his eyes.
What kind of broken
But he
balance is
immediately
this?
regained
Lone
his
Moon
righteous
could not help
demeanor.
but scold.
The facts have
If it was
proven
really
that,
for the sake of balance,
although the
you
process
should
was
not have
different from
allowed
what I had
immortals
predicted,
and demons.
it was precisely
to
because
merge
of your
into one.
existence that
He
the
was silent for a
immortal
moment,
and demonic
then
realms
glanced at the
merged
two of
together
them.
more than
What you see is
100,000
only
years
the survival
earlier
of
than
the
expected.
two realms.
Countless
But what I
souls
see
were
is
prevented
the
from
reincarnation of the entire
So,
three realms.
what you did was a good thing.
What do you mean?
Shen-Ying's
The
eyes
number of
narrowed
living
slightly.
beings in this
The
world
look in his eyes
is
became
limited,
more
he
and
said in a
more
low
resolute.
voice. The fiend
Everything I
realm
did
is also a
was
part
for
of
the
the
three
three
realms
realms for this world.
Although the river
Save
of
the three
forgetfulness
realms
and the
fiend realm
Shen-Ying looked
cannot
straight
enter
at the
samsara.
person in front of her.
People's hearts
Do you feel
are
that you're
fickle.
especially
The
selfless,
immortal realm
especially
cannot enter
great,
the fiend realm,
especially
but mortals
awesome,
can become fiends,
especially sacred
in the long
and
run?
inviolable now?
What do you think will happen?
So people should cooperate.
The two of
with
them
you,
were stunned.
should be used by you, should abandon everything and let you do whatever you want. I did it to save the world.
She suddenly laughed coldly.
You just said that everyone has a responsibility to save the world.
That's right.
But have you freaking forgotten that this is not our world at all? Reincarnation of the river of forgetfulness? What does the survival of the three realms have to do with Father Neo and me? I have no problem with you wanting to save the world, to merge the realms, to predict the future. But you pulled a completely unrelated person over and played a big game for nothing. After that, you directly put a big hat on the survival of the three realms, and you want to pretend that nothing happened? Huh. Do you think that we, who live in another world, are so easy to bully? No, even children in kindergarten know that you have to get permission to ask for help. But the way you forcefully pulled someone from another world over without saying a word is not asking for help, but kidnapping, isn't it? Because you have a reason, because you want to save the three realms.
So you can play us for a fool?
May I ask, did we enter your river of forgetfulness?
Or did we eat your rice?
The God Fiend, Qing, and Lone Moon, there really was rice, and there was a lot of it.
I hate kidnapping, especially moral kidnapping.
Shen-Ying stood up directly, her eyes darkening as her lips curved into a somewhat cold smile.
No matter how many people you save, or what righteousness you achieve, but you still owe Father Neo and me an apology.
And I like to get it back with my own hands.
With that said, she suddenly cupped her fists and pressed them together. A crisp cracking sound shook the God Fiend's heart, and he subconsciously took a few steps back. But Shen-Ying flashed to his side, and in the next moment, she was already in front of him, reaching out.
Wait.
The God Fiend's face paled. The calm expression on his face disappeared completely.
He was the God Fiend, after all. His figure flashed, and in an instant, he retreated 5 or 6 steps. Before the people opposite him caught up to him, he hurriedly waved his hand and explained loudly, "I only let you transmigrate here with permission."
Bullshit.
Lone Moon also reacted. He was almost tricked into entering. Saving the world was indeed very important, but they were not people of this world. No matter how much they tried to save it, it was not their turn to come over, and it was even forced. They helped out of friendship, not out of duty. What they hated was not being forced to save the world, but his attitude when he was clearly using others, yet still taking it for granted. According to what he said, if not for shunning this time, perhaps he would not even appear in front of them to explain all this. Shunning, he's stalling for time, beat him up. They had to vent this anger no matter what. Really, I'm speaking the truth. The god fiend hurriedly took out something from his chest and handed it to Shunning. I did indeed get permission to let you transmigrate here. If you don't believe me, take a look. Lone Moon took a look and found that it seemed to be an envelope. The style did not look like the kind in this world, but more like the modern kind. Shunning hesitated for a moment, then took it and pulled out a piece of paper. She looked down, and suddenly, the slightly angry expression on her face suddenly turned as white as the paper in her hand. Shit! Chapter 232. The moment she saw the words on the paper, Shun Ying's hands trembled and she almost threw the letter. Her entire body froze, her face turning from red to white to green and then to purple. Her expression was rich and colorful. She had even cured her facial paralysis for many years. Shunning, Lone Moon nudged the person whose acupoints were suddenly sealed. What's wrong with you? What's written on the paper? He could not help but step forward curiously, about to look at the letter. Shunning retracted her palm and took a deep breath. Her expression changed instantly. She suddenly smiled warmly at the Godfiend, blinking her eyes and asking in a low voice, Mr. Godfiend, is there anything else I can help you with? Not to mention merging 2 realms, even merging 4, 5, 6, or 7 realms of heaven. Earth and man can be done. Do you want to try? The Godfiend, I Ching, Lone Moon, it's all right. You can take your time to think about it. Leave it to me, the kind that doesn't require salary. Her voice was full of twists and turns. Shunning, you're crazy. Lone Moon looked at her in disbelief. Wasn't she freaking changing too fast? Shunning completely ignored him, smiling even brighter. Whether it's saving the world, or moving bricks, merging realms, or tearing down walls, I'm a professional. Just tell me, don't stand on ceremony. No, no need. The Godfiend was also confused. Was he blind? The person smiling like a sunflower in front of him. Was she really that Shunning? All right, don't be anxious. Your satisfaction is my goal. She blinked her eyes even faster. She almost added, give me a good review, my dear. Hey. Shunning. Lone Moon could not help but reach out to touch her head. Are you sick? Shunning slapped his hand away and glared at him coldly. Get off. She turned to look at the Godfiend with that exaggerated smile of hers. Then is there anything else, Mr. Godfiend? No. All right, then we'll leave first. Shunning waved at him. Take care, Mr. Godfiend. Goodbye, Mr. Godfiend. Goodbye? Shun. Lone Moon still wanted to say something, but Shunning tugged at him. The next moment, she pointed to the crack on the ground that she had made with the fruit knife and stomped hard to make a big hole. She grabbed Chef with her left hand and dragged Fathergno with her right. Without hesitation, she jumped into the hole and disappeared. The Godfiend, was he hallucinating just now? Lone Moon felt his vision blur, and the next moment, he was back in the demon realm. Little Black's eyes lit up. He was about to step forward, but Shunning had no intention of stopping. Throwing down 2 words, go home. Then he grabbed the 2 of them and ran out of the demon city like an afterimage. He kept running out of the demon world and headed straight for the Bow Sea Heavenly Palace. He ran back to the rear hall, where he usually lived, and slammed the door shut. Only then did he lay on the ground like a dead dog, panting for breath for a long time. A while later, Chef, no one followed us, right? No. That's good. I Ching, Lone Moon, what exactly happened? Lone Moon finally saw the letter that Shunning was still clutching tightly in her hand. He pulled it over to take a look. He saw that there was a neat row of black words written in standard Chinese characters. Littling, go and help. You're dead if you don't complete it. Sister, stay quietly. Quiet? This letter was written by your sister? Loneman's mind went blank. He seemed to have figured something out. Subconsciously, he asked, "Shunning, don't tell me your sister is called Shun." "No." Before he finished, Shunning, who was lying on the ground like a dead dog, suddenly rushed over and covered his mouth. She looked like she was about to cry. "Father Nyo, my biological father, I beg you, don't say that name. I still want to live for a few more years, really. Don't jinx it. Please don't raise flags, okay?" Master? Not only Lone Moon. Even I Ching was shocked by her extreme reaction. Was it so scary? Just hearing the name made her want to dig a hole and bury herself. He really wanted to know what her sister had done. "You can't be Shuning." Lone Moon had never seen her like this. "I just said name. Is there a need for you to do that?" "There is a need, of course there is. What if she hears it?" "It was very scary, okay?" "She can't hear it." "No." Shuning shook her head hard and looked around. "My sister's ears are very, very sensitive." Lone Moon and I Ching. No matter how sensitive she was, she couldn't possibly hear the voices of another world, right? "There's nothing on this letter." Lone Moon looked at the letter again. "Why are you so scared? No matter what, she's still your sister. Do you think she'll eat people?" Shen Ying's face turned green. After a long while, she sighed. "Sai, you don't understand. My sister is scarier than a cannibal." "What kind of person is Master's sister?" I Ching could not help but ask. Shun Ying shivered subconsciously, and her expression changed. "My sister, wait." The corner of Lone Moon's mouth twitched. He looked at the two of them and said, "Before we tell the story, can we get out from under the bed first?" I Ching, "Shuning, what the hell?" It was one thing to crawl under the bed, but why did she have to drag the two of them with her? Half an hour later. "Master, have a cup of tea to calm yourself down." I Ching handed a cup of tea to her. She finally calmed down and gulped down the tea. She handed the empty cup over. "Another cup? No, 3 cups." The corner of Lone Moon's mouth twitched. He snatched the cup from her hand. "That's enough. You can tell me now, right? What exactly happened? What did your sister do to you?" Shen Ying's hand froze. She seemed to want to hide out of reflex. She looked around and sighed again. Chapter 233. That award is quite difficult. It's only given out once every 2 years. Master is indeed wise. I Ching praised his master. Master's mind is clear and agile. Naturally, you can do what we can't and think what we can't. Bootlicker. Lone Moon glared at Chef. If he didn't understand, then so be it. Would he die if he didn't brag a little? But on second thought, Shinning was indeed quite smart sometimes. Of course, that was when she wasn't being lazy. "What you said isn't that great. What else do you know?" She thought about it carefully. After a while, she said, "When I'm bored, playing with IT counts." "IT? You?" Lone Moon scanned her from head to toe. "That's my profession. You play games, that's not IT. What kind of IT skills could a housewife have? I know other things too," Shinning said seriously. "What? For example?" She thought about it. After a while, she asked, "Your company had an interstellar game, but the main engine was modified. You only found out about it after 5 years when you released a remake? How did you know?" Lone Moon was shocked. That was one of the main projects of their company's gaming department. It was very popular and profitable, but it was modified not long after it was released. Although it didn't have much impact, the technical department only found out about it 5 years later. Because it didn't cause any damage and seemed to be better than the original engine, it was kept a secret. Only a few of the company's higher-ups knew about it. "Oh, I was the one who modified it." "Huh. Also, does your main server lag for 2 seconds at midnight and can't be repaired?" "Yes. That's because my computer is too slow. I borrow your server regularly to transfer things." "Damn. Also, during the finals of the gaming competition you organized, the game suddenly crashed and couldn't be restarted. It was delayed until the next day?" "Yes, there was such a thing." "Oh, the file I used your server that day was a little big." "Damn. Oh. Before transmigrating, did your technical department discover holographic technology and prepare to release a holographic online game?" "That can't be. I wrote the core program. I forgot to delete it when I borrowed your server." "Mother asterisk her. Also enough. How many times have you F asterisk King tricked me?" He took a deep breath and suppressed the urge to tear her apart. Did I owe you my past life? Why do you keep staring at me? Shen Ying hesitated. After thinking for a while, she gave him a definite answer. Maybe it's too boring to rest. Boring your ass. You play other people's servers all the time because you're bored. If you're that capable, go play the U.S. Department of Defense's server. Lone Moon took a deep breath to suppress the anger in his heart. You mean to say that your sister taught you all your IT skills? Oh, that doesn't count. Lone Moon's heart leaped with joy. After the seal on Xian Tong's body was removed, she was already a Stygian immortal. Apart from him and I Ching, there was no one else in the sect who could teach her. Usually, when he was free, he would give her some pointers. But too many things had happened recently. This time, they were busy with the moving, so they did not pay much attention to her. And the disciples in the sect had always been left to their own devices. He did not expect her to be so hardworking. She was about to understand her own sword intent so quickly. She was indeed a good seedling for sword cultivation. Yes, that's why these few days, Yu Hong and I have been helping her prepare for her seclusion. Qingyu glanced at Yu Hong, and her expression became even more anxious as she said, "But when I went to look for her this morning, I found that she was not in the room. The array outside the house was not damaged either. She just disappeared into thin air. She's about to ascend. The immortal qi in her body is not stable. It's impossible that she would leave at this time." Yu Hong continued, "And she lives in the east side of the rear hall. That place has always been quiet. I've also instructed the disciples not to disturb her. That's why no one went to look for her. I've also asked the system to search." Feng Ying continued, "There's no aura of her in the entire heavenly palace. She should have left." Lone Moon and I Ching exchanged a look. "Come, let's go to her room to take a look." With that said, they turned to leave. Just as they were about to step out of the door, they paused and turned back to pick up a certain lump of mud. Together, they headed towards a side hall. Chapter 234. The Invincible Heavenly Palace had hundreds of immortal palaces, but their invincible sect only had more than 200 people. That was why Lone Moon had allowed the disciples to choose whichever immortal palace they wanted to stay in. The disciples all chose to stay around Xian Tong's back hall. It was not far away, and within moments, they had arrived at Xian Tong's immortal palace. Unlike the other disciples' immortal palaces, Xian Tong's immortal palace did not have a single immortal herb in front of it. It was all a lush vegetable field. There were potatoes, sweet potatoes, carrots, even onions, ginger, and garlic. The corner of Lone Moon's mouth twitched. He immediately knew what these things were for. He turned and glared at Shunning. "Look at what you've done." The others did not feel anything. It was as if the courtyard was filled with ordinary immortal herbs. They walked through the small path in the middle. Yu Hong took out a token to unlock the immortal palace's restrictions and opened the door. Compared to the flourishing vegetable field outside, the immortal palace was exceptionally quiet. There was not even a single piece of furniture. There was only a meditation mat on the ground and a white jade vase on the windowsill. Inside, it was a flower that was overflowing with immortal qi. Lone Moon released his divine perception and looked around. He conjured a tracking spell, but there was no response. Xian Tong was indeed not here. But where could she have gone? Littling, Sect Master, Elders. Roasted Chicken Gal scanned the three of them anxiously. Although Little Tong is the youngest, she has always been the most obedient. She has never made us worry. She could not have left without saying goodbye. She did not even leave a message. Something must have happened. Lone Moon's frown deepened. Yu Hong, have you sent disciples to search outside the Heavenly Gate, especially the nearby islands? I have. Yu Hong nodded. I have searched nearly 100 islands under the Heavenly Palace. I have also informed all the country emperors, but there is still no response. Where could she have gone? He turned and nudged Shining. Do you see anything? Shining shook her head. Her gaze landed on the flower on the windowsill. Nothing? You can't see anything either? Lone Moon squeezed the jade flute in his hand. What exactly is going on? Why don't we ask Salted Fish? Shining suggested. Salted Fish? Lone Moon paused. Then realization dawned on him. You mean Xingu? That's right. With Xiantong's relationship with Chang'e, he might really be able to find her. Moreover, that kid Chang'e, ever since they moved to the Bo Si Celestial Palace, he would come here every other day. He would even send all kinds of immortal artifacts to Xiantong from time to time. Even a blind person could see that he liked Xiantong. Little sister Little Hong, Shuning suddenly said. She tugged at Yu Hong and said, "Go get Boss Lon here." "Why do you want him to?" Lone Moon stopped mid-sentence. He suddenly understood and his eyes widened. "You mean that radish array? Pui, the heart entrapping array." "That's right. Chang'e could pull Xiantong over with the heart entrapping array. He could definitely do it again this time." "Yu Hong, go quickly." Yu Hong also reacted. Her eyes lit up and she nodded repeatedly. "Yes." She quickly ran out to get someone. Lone Moon thought for a moment, then asked Qingyu and Feng Ying to move Radish over just in case. He took out a few immortal meridians and planted them in the vegetable field in front of Xiantong Immortal Palace. He even dug a big hole. After everything was arranged, Lan Hua and Radish came over. Lan Hua was quite loyal. He only gave a brief explanation. Once he heard that the missing person was Shorty, he immediately started conjuring seals to set up an array. Then, everyone in the courtyard turned to look at a certain celestial emperor dressed in white robes. Chungu paused, then seemed to understand something. He raised his hand cooperatively and said, "I understand. I have experience in this." With that said, he jumped into the hole that Lone Moon had just dug. Thinking that the missing person was his sweetheart, he asked worriedly, "Do you need to cover my head with some soil to bury me?" Lone Moon, Lan Hua, Shan, and everyone, was this the side effect of being a radish? Cover soil? Why don't you just sprout? Chapter 235. Perhaps because of his previous experience, Lan Hua set up the array very quickly this time. In less than an hour, he was done. Thick demonic chi surged out from his body, enveloping the entire vegetable field in an instant. The sky darkened. The originally lush and verdant vegetable fields suddenly withered. The demonic chi spread out like vines, following the pattern of the array. Even Radish, who was playing with mud, stopped. It began to look around the vegetable field seriously, observing where Radish would appear. After a while, it suddenly pointed at a potato on its right and said, "Over there, little big sister, over there." Indeed, in the next moment, there was a poof and a huge potato appeared on the ground. In an instant, there was a huge pit in front of them. A familiar voice came from a pit. "Sect, Master?" "Little Tong." Qingyu was delighted. She was the first to run over and was about to dig her out. In the next moment, there was another poof and she shrank back into the soil again. Her entire body seemed to be unstable, sometimes big and sometimes small. Qingyu was at a loss. Why is this happening? Little Shorty. Shen Ying's expression darkened. She stepped forward and squatted beside her. What exactly happened? Where are you? Xiantong's body was still changing, as if there was something pulling her. Her voice was also intermittent. "I'm not where. Palm. I've never seen it before. I can't use it. He's not an immortal." In the next moment, her voice disappeared completely. The huge potato on the ground did not appear again, leaving only a hole. The demonic chi surrounding it also dissipated. "What's going on?" Lone Moon looked at the hole in the ground, then turned to look at the person in the center of the array. "Lan Hua, this is..." "Lan Hua!" Poof! Lan Hua suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was as white as snow, as if he was seriously injured. "Holy shit! What's wrong with you?" Lone Moon was shocked. Everyone was also shocked. Lan Hua did not answer. He clutched his chest with one hand, looking even worse. I Ching stepped forward and checked his pulse. After a while, he frowned. "It's the array's backlash. How is this possible?" Lone Moon's eyes widened. This was not the first time Lan Hua used this array. The last time, he pulled 7 or 8 people in at once, but nothing happened. Why couldn't he do it this time? Someone cast a spell on Xiantong. Not only her body, but also her soul. Lan Hua took a deep breath and said in a low voice, "That person's aura is very strange. It doesn't look like immortal chi or devil chi. If he's not an immortal or a devil, could he be a god? No, Lanhua shook his head with certainty. It's definitely not the god race. That aura, I can't describe it, but I only touched it a little before I suffered a backlash. Lone Moon's expression darkened. Xiantong was such an unlucky child. Why was it always her? It hurts so much. Oh, its head full of green leaves looked like it was raining, water splashing out. Shining frowned and distastefully pulled away a little. It's so ugly. She casually threw it to roasted chicken gal beside her. Wah! Radish hugged Qingyu tightly and cried even more sadly. Ever since it met Shining, Radish really had not suffered such grievances. It was a vegetation spirit. Its soul was originally pure, and it had just transformed not long ago. Although there was gender discrimination, most of the people in the sect were female. In addition, it had a sweet mouth. The disciples in the sect all doted on it. Besides Lone Moon and the rest, it was not an exaggeration to say that everyone else was obedient to it. This was the first time it was beaten to this extent. Its entire body was purple. What's more, the other party was a flower without sentience. It was no wonder that Radish was crying so hard. All right, Radish, be good. Qingyu comforted gently for a long time before stopping its tears. Shun Ying pointed to the vase on the table. Did you see it? The faces of the people in the room darkened, and they nodded. Stepping forward to take a closer look at the flower, they realized that the flower had suddenly withered. At a speed visible to the naked eye, it turned yellow, as if it was corroded by demonic qi. Chapter 236. Lone Moon conjured a seal and used a sliver of immortal qi to scan the withered yellow flower. That aura has already disappeared. It must have been used up when I attacked the radish. Vegetation and mortal herbs are the easiest to infect the surrounding aura. I Ching said, this flower was placed on the windowsill. It must have been accidentally infected with Xiantong's aura when he kidnapped her. But I've never seen this aura before. Lone Moon's brows were knitted into a dead knot. No wonder Lan Hua couldn't say anything just now. This aura is indeed strange. It's not immortal qi, nor is it devil qi. Furthermore, it's so gloomy and cold. Just now, he only felt a cold and gloomy aura instantly fill the entire room. Moreover, just a wisp of remnant aura was enough to repel Radish. Although Radish was a vegetation spirit, its cultivation was not low. From this, it could be seen how powerful the person who took Xiantong away was. As far as I know, no one with such an aura has ever appeared in the immortal world. Qinggu paced back and forth anxiously. Could it be someone from the demon world? No. Lone Moon shook his head, denying his guess. If there really is such a person in the demon realm, Shunning would have met him when she entered the gate of the demon realm with your mental demon. She would not have waited until now to appear. Moreover, Little Black would not dare to release someone to capture the disciples of Invincible Sect. Then what exactly is this? Everyone was silent. They couldn't figure it out, even after thinking for a long time. One by one, they unleashed their sorcery in an attempt to track that aura, but it was useless. Even Feng Ying's system tried it, but it was to no avail. Lone Moon was a little irritated. Is there really no one who knows what this aura is? There's someone. Shining thought for a moment and suddenly said, he definitely knows. Who? Just as Lone Moon was about to ask, someone pushed the door open and entered. Scanning the room, he said, Exalted Goddess, I'm back. The Demon King smiled ingratiatingly. That sky fiend called Lan Hua's injury is nothing serious. I've already helped him regulate his breathing. He'll be fine after a few days of rest. Oh. Shining nodded and suddenly smiled brightly. You've worked hard. Little Black trembled violently and subconsciously took a step back. Exalted Goddess. If there's anything you need, tell me. Don't smile at me, okay? My legs go soft when you smile. Extremely soft. Blackie. Yes, let's make another vow. The kind where we have to meet the demon god. Little Black, Lone Moon, Ching, the spectators who didn't know the truth. Honestly, Exalted Goddess, do you not like Blackie anymore and want to change to another demon? 5 minutes later. Exalted Goddess, what kind of oath do you want to make this time? Last time it was dumplings. This time, it should be mooncakes, right? What's wrong? Is there a problem? No, no. Yes, exalted goddess. No problem, exalted goddess. Therefore, a clear oath was instantly heard in the Bow Sea celestial palace, and instantly spread across half of the heavens beyond heaven. Oath of heaven, demon Tao, venerable god, king of the demon world, Li Yin, hereby swears by the demon spirit to follow the laws of heaven and earth, to obey the rules of the great Tao. Tonight, I must let exalted goddess Shun Ing eat the 5 kernel mooncake. If I violate this oath, I am willing to bear the heavy punishment of the demon god. Sigh, I'll get used to this shameful thing after doing it. Chef, give me the egg yolk mooncake. Yes, master. No problem, master. 5 minutes later, in the divine realm, the god fiend, could he use a different method to summon him next time? And a certain ancient god frowned. He looked at the person opposite him and asked, "Have you finished eating?" She had been eating for 5 minutes. Wait. Shuning swallowed the last half of the mooncake. She was in a hurry and choked. She coughed a few times. Finally, I Ching, who was beside her, hurriedly handed her a cup of tea. Only then did she swallow it. Dusting off the mooncake crumbs on her hands, she waved at the person opposite her. "Hello, Mr. Godfiend." He was not feeling well at all. "Why did you ask that little demon king to summon me? I have something to trouble you with." Shuning pulled out the withered flower from her waist. "Do you know what the aura in this flower is?" The Godfiend looked at the flower in her hand. He was still smiling faintly and nodded. "Of course I know. What is it?" The Godfiend scanned the 3 of them. After a moment of silence, he said, "You want to find the child that was born from the mental demon. You know where Xiantong is?" Lone Moon could not help but ask anxiously. "Of course." The God-fiend smiled. "I am one of the 3 ancient gods who created the world. I know everything that happens in the 3 realms. But I can't tell you that." "Why?" Lone Moon hesitated. "Didn't they talk about it quite excitedly the last time?" "I said it the last time. I have long left the 3 realms. I cannot actively interfere with the affairs of the living beings in the world. Otherwise, there will be more chaos." The God-fiend sighed and continued. "The child that was born from the mental demon, although it was only a remnant of someone else's soul in the beginning, now it has already given birth to a new soul. It is already one of the complete living beings in the 3 realms. She has her own fate. That is why I cannot tell you." "Bullshit." Lone Moon did not like the God-fiend from the start. Now he was even angrier. "You pulled us into this world back then. Didn't you attack? There was also Hui Ling's matter. Hui Ling did not give birth to her own soul. Of course she does not count. But you come from another world. You are not from the 3 realms. Anything that happens to you has nothing to do with the 3 realms." "Damn it, this little bitch." Lone Moon's expression darkened. Suddenly, he thought of something. His eyes lit up. "According to what you said, I am not from the 3 realms. So you can tell me these things? Anyway, it does not count as you interfering." The God-fiend was stumped. "It did not work that way. You said it yourself." The God-fiend shook his head. "Telling you is no different from me directly interfering. What's more," he suddenly turned to look at I Ching. "You're not. He is a native of the 3 realms." I Ching was stunned. He suddenly raised his hands and covered his ears, pretending not to know anything. "Aya, I can't hear you." Lone Moon, shunning the God-fiend. "Do you think I'm blind?" Underscore, cut the crap. Just tell me your conditions. Shinning took a step forward. If he really did not want to interfere in this matter, he could have just not responded to little Black Soth. Why did he drag the 3 of them here? Who would believe that he did not have any ulterior motives? The God-fiend paused. The smile on his face deepened. "There is indeed a small matter that I would like to ask Shining for a favor." "Speak." He took out a piece of mooncake and continued eating. "I want you to help me find someone." The God-fiend's expression darkened. A hint of genuine worry flashed across his eyes. "Recently, I have not been able to sense her presence. Perhaps you can help me find her." Chapter 237. Shining glanced at him, a little surprised. "Your lover." The God-fiend's mouth twitched. After a while, he said, "You're mistaken. She's Mengpa." "Mengpa?" Lone Moon exclaimed. His eyes widened. "You mean the Mengpa from Mengpo's soup?" "Soup." Shen Ying's eyes lit up. Which soup? For all, for all, for all, for all. Shut up. Lone Moon glared at her. If you drink that soup, you'll lose your memory. It's for you to use before you reincarnate. Did she have any common sense at all? Don't get all spirited the moment you hear about food. Oh, amnesia? The Fiend Celestial was taken aback as he thought of something. He smiled and said, "That was just a joke Granny Meng made. The so-called Granny Meng soup is just water from the River of Forgetfulness. The River of Forgetfulness can cleanse a person's soul, allowing all living beings to return to their original state. The past will naturally dissipate. Whether you drink it or not, you'll have to enter the River of Forgetfulness." Lone Moon shit. So this was the meaning of Meng Po's soup? He felt that in those love stories, the couples who promised not to drink Meng Po's soup were all King retarded. Like me, Meng Po is one of the 3 ancient gods who split open the sky. The God Fiend explained in a deep voice, "I, Meng Po, and the god of creation created the 3 realms from the chaos. Granny Meng is in charge of the River of Forgetfulness and controls reincarnation. I am in charge of light and controls order, and the god of creation creates everything in the 3 realms." You're in charge of light? Lone Moon paused. Aren't you a god fiend? Are you kidding me? Demon God is just a name given to me by the demon clan. He still had that smiling expression, just like how Meng Po used to call him River of Forgetfulness. You said you were looking for Meng Po? What happened to her? I suddenly can't sense his existence. The god fiend sighed. He and I were born because the god of creation created the sky. She was the embodiment of the River of Forgetfulness, in charge of the reincarnation of this world. In the past, she never left the River of Forgetfulness, but this time, the River of Forgetfulness had changed. The Devil World was sealed. If she had personally come to the Devil World, she would have been able to reconnect the River of Forgetfulness. She didn't appear, Shining replied. The god fiend nodded. That's right. This is the reason why I spent so much effort to unite the immortal and demon realms. Before he could say anything, they had already fled. Although Granny Meng is one of the ancient gods of creation, it might be because the River of Forgetfulness has passed through too many living beings in the 3 realms. The more she came into contact with them, the more she would inevitably be affected. That was why her personality was a little more jumpy. In the past, he would often hide, but this time is different. He frowned. I can't sense her presence at all. Even the god of creation can't find her. Both of you are from a different world. I Ching has great luck, and Shuning has special abilities. Perhaps you can really find her. Why should we help you? The previous debt had not been settled yet. The Fiend Celestial fell silent for a while before saying, if Meng Po is not around for a long period of time, the River of Forgetfulness will definitely go out of control. When that happens, the 3 realms will definitely be in turmoil. He turned to look at I Ching. Perhaps you don't care, but can you really stand by and watch as the living beings of the 3 realms are destroyed? Lone Moon choked. Shit, the world crisis again. Of course, I really don't have the qualifications to ask you. The God Fiend's voice slowed as he immediately added, how about this? Regardless of whether you can find Meng Po or not, I will tell you the method to connect to your world. How about that? Really? Lone Moon was shocked. There was actually such a method. In that case, he did not need to consider whether he should stay or leave. The God Fiend's smile deepened. He raised his hand and said, I swear by the heavenly Tao. All right. Lone Moon nodded. He trusted him once more. But the 3 realms are so big. Where are we going to find him? What's more, Shuning, who had no sense of direction, was he sure that he had normal vision. Meng Po will not leave the source of the River of Forgetfulness for a long period of time. The God Fiend said, you only need to search for her in the realm where the source of the River of Forgetfulness is located. It's very simple. You mean you want us to leave the immortal realm? Easy as hell. What was he going to do with the wealth he had accumulated for so long? Also, where is the source of the River of Forgetfulness? It can't be the Netherworld, right? Holy shit, he really planned to send them to hell. To be precise, it's the divine underworld. The God Fiend corrected. God? Netherworld? What did that mean? After the divine realm left the immortal realm, the entire realm ascended. That's why it's now part of the same realm as the netherworld. Ascended to the netherworld. You're saying the netherworld was originally one of the three realms. The heaven realm. The god fiend nodded. The source of the river of forgetfulness is naturally at the top of the three realms. Lone Moon, I Ching, this was different from what they had agreed on. A bunch of nouns like hell, king of hell, black and white impermanence appeared in his mind, and those evil ghosts that even ordinary cultivators could deal with. So they were all residents of the imperial capital of the heaven realm, although they were the kind that flowed. Why did he suddenly feel that the divine realm had fallen to the bottom of the valley? Where's Shorty? Shining suddenly asked. Don't worry. Given her fate, she'll be fine. She's not fated to die, the god fiend explained. And wherever you go is where she is. Xian Tong is in the divine underworld. Lone Moon was shocked. No wonder none of them had seen the aura from the flower before. So it wasn't something that belonged to someone from the celestial realm? But why did the divine race want to capture Xian Tong? That's not right. Can people from the divine realm enter the celestial realm as they please? If they could, why had no divine race appeared in the celestial realm all these years? This was illogical. You'll understand once you go to the divine underworld. He waved his hand. Instantly, a white light flashed and floated in front of them. I can't interfere with the three realms, so I can't go there personally. If you're ready to move, use your immortal chi to activate this. It will bring you to the divine underworld. As long as you're within 10 feet of Meng Pe, this thing will light up as a red warning. I'll appear then. Shining reached out to take it. Lone Moon looked down and his mouth twitched. Indeed, it was another jade pendant, and it was the same as the two pieces that Hui Ling had. Did this god fiend have some special obsession with jade pendants? Thank you for your hard work. The god fiend's smile deepened. His figure became fainter and fainter. Even the entire divine realm dissipated like fog. Wait, they weren't done with their questions. At least give them a general direction. Lone Moon wanted to ask more, but the scenery in front of him changed. They were already standing in the courtyard of the Heavenly Palace's rear palace. Little Black was sitting on a chair opposite them. He was holding a bowl-sized piece of mooncake and munching on it. It was a 5-kernel mooncake. Exalted Goddess, you're back. Little Black dusted off the mooncake crumbs on his hands. That was fast. How was it? What did the god fiend say? Little Black. Shining suddenly interrupted him. She glanced at the empty plate on the table and narrowed her eyes. You can leave now. Huh? He just arrived not long ago. Why dash? Just as he was about to ask, Shunning suddenly glanced at him. Little Black felt a chill run down his spine. He subconsciously trembled. Why was the exalted goddess looking at him like that? Demon King, please. Yu Hong was very perceptive. She started to chase him away. Little Black looked confused. He turned back every step he took and walked out. Little sister, Little Hong, did I do something wrong? He felt that the exalted goddess was looking down on him. Yu Hong looked at him strangely. What? Sai, it's better if you don't know. What? Sect Master hasn't had dinner today. What do you mean? Speak clearly so that I can suck up to you next time. Chapter 238. What do you think? Should we go or not? Lone Moon frowned. He had agreed readily just now, but now he was a little conflicted. Xian Tong was currently in the divine underworld, and her situation was unknown. Although the god fiend said that she was not in danger for the time being, it did not mean that she would be fine in the future. Moreover, she was only a Stygian immortal. In that place where gods were everywhere, it would be strange if she could be safe, especially her indescribable bad luck attribute. No matter what, he was still a disciple of their sect, so it was impossible for them to ignore him. However, if the three of them went to the divine underworld, putting aside the fact that the god fiend wanted them to look for Meng Pe, it would be a problem if they could even return. The world of immortals seemed to be in peace. That was because of Shuning. The moment she ascended to the god realm, the immortal realm and the devil realm would start fighting at any moment. And the first to bear the brunt was the invincible heavenly palace.
Although the 10 sky demons haven't recovered from their injuries from the last time you beat them up. With the 10 heavenly emperors joining forces, it was not that they did not have the power to fight the fiend world either. But if you add Little Black, it was not that he was biased, but the strength of the immortal world was really too weak. Moreover, the demon world still has Enchanting. Although Emperor Joao was present, this henpecked husband wouldn't be able to cause much trouble. But if they really cause a ruckus, the other demons might come looking for them. What do you think we should do now? Huh? Shen Ying stammered. As she chewed on the vegetables, she turned around. What did you say? Lone Moon felt a ding in his mind. Something snapped. You're still in the mood to eat? Can't you see that I'm so anxious? He was so angry that his liver hurt. He turned around and glared at a certain person who was walking towards the kitchen. And you, stop cooking. You've already cooked more than 20 dishes. Father Nyo. Shenning slurped the food into her mouth. You'll only have the energy to think when you're full. Chef, add a tomato, scrambled egg. Yes, master. No problem, master. That's enough. Lone Moon resisted the urge to flip the table. Aren't the two of you worried about Shorty at all? After all, they had known each other for so many years and watched her grow up. I'm worried. Shenning nodded. That's why I asked Chef to make a few more dishes for us to eat on the road. What if there was nothing to eat there? You're really planning to go to the divine underworld, and you're planning to leave now. What else? But if we leave, our sect, and the immortal and demonic realms, Father Nyo. Shenning suddenly interrupted him and said in a low voice, Why did you leave Black Heaven sect back then? Lone Moon stared blankly at her. Why? Black Heaven sect intended to make I Ching and Shun Ying the scapegoats. They were supposed to protect their disciples, but they didn't care about their disciples' lives in times of crisis. That was why I Ching's heart was cold towards such a sect. Then, he boarded Shen Ying's pirate ship. It's the same for us now. Shen Ying thought about it and said, Shorty is a member of our invincible sect. Lone Moon's whole body shook, and a knot of depression that had been condensed in his heart dissipated instantly. Yes, why was he hesitating? They were disciples of invincible sect. How could they let others bully them? As for coming back with the cheat, he had nothing to be afraid of. If worst comes to worst, I'll just capture a demon and make him swear an oath. Understand. Lone Moon smiled. He felt his entire body relax. His heart mirror was transparent. He glared at Shen Ying out of habit. And get your oily claws off my shoulder. Damn it. She even took the opportunity to rub against him 2 or 3 times, treating his Dharma robe as a rag. Don't think I didn't see it. Do you believe that I won't stomp it? Shen Ying retracted her claws and continued to reach for the big bowl in front of her. There's crayfish tonight. Sigh. A pity that she didn't prepare a napkin. Her hands were so oily that it was hard to pick up other dishes. Master, the tomato scrambled eggs are ready. Oh. Lone Moon conjured a dust-removing seal and wiped away the oily claw marks on his shoulder. Then, he sat back down at the table. He looked around worriedly. It seemed like he had to make arrangements for the heavenly palace as soon as possible. After all, there were so many disciples to worry about. Don't worry, I Ching said as he moved the tomato scrambled eggs in front of Shen Ying. The God Fiend did not hesitate to use the method of connecting the 2 worlds to request for us to go to the divine underworld. It seems that he had already thought of everything. Then, he must have arranged everything that we're worried about. Lone Moon was stunned. Just as he was about to ask, the ground shook. Not far away, a thick demonic chi rose into the sky. In an instant, it covered the entire heavenly palace. The immortal chi was forced to disperse in all directions. This is the direction of Lan Hua. And look at the level of the demonic chi. Lan Hua has ascended. Lone Moon was shocked. He stood up immediately. Lan Hua was a sky fiend. If he ascended, he would be a demon king. Although Lan Hua was a demon, his heart had always been biased towards the immortal realm. Could this be the God Fiend's arrangement? If Lan Hua ascended to the demon king, even if they weren't here, the immortal and demonic realms could still maintain balance. He had to say that the God Fiend had really thought of everything. The worry in Lone Moon's heart dissipated a lot. Shen Ying, before he could finish speaking,
A golden light suddenly lit up around Xinying's waist. It instantly enveloped the three of them. Holy shit, it's that jade pendant! Lone Moon shouted, but it was too late. The three of them disappeared on the spot. The God Fiend was a liar. He said that immortal chi could be activated, but he didn't say that any immortal chi could be activated. Somewhere in the divine underworld, thick immortal chi spread throughout the entire forest. Like a white fog, it became thicker and thicker. It seemed like it was about to condense and take form. In a short while, the originally lush and green forest had become a snowy white. And between the layers of clouds, a huge door covered with array patterns appeared. It looked very simple and unadorned. Dermic talismans with golden characters floated around it, carrying with it an oppressive might of heaven and earth. Suddenly, there was a creaking sound. The door suddenly opened outwards. Blinding golden light shone out from inside, sprinkling across the entire forest. A faint heavenly voice sounded. It sounded so far away that it couldn't be heard clearly. It was as if something was descending into the world. The next moment, a huge dragon's roar broke through the air. A black figure rushed out from inside, straight into the night sky. The dragon's roar spread in all directions. It did not stop for a long time, causing the sea of clouds to churn. The surrounding immortal chi became thicker. The huge door had already disappeared. It turned into wisps of blue god power that surged towards the figure in the clouds. The huge black dragon was faintly discernible between the clouds. It seemed to be dancing excitedly in the sky. A voice with god power suddenly sounded from the sky. "Ha! I've finally cultivated a winged dragon and ascended to the divine realm." The dragon's voice was very loud. As it laughed, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. "From now on, I'm a true member of the divine clan." As soon as it finished speaking, there was a loud rumble of thunder. The huge black dragon's body suddenly emitted several red lightning bolts. The sky instantly darkened, and everything was pitch black. However, the huge dragon was still dancing in the clouds. Its god power immediately spread out in all directions. The more the black dragon flew, the more excited it became. "Witzard, I'll definitely make you pay for what happened hundreds of thousands of years ago." As it spoke, it seemed to be venting its anger. It spat out a huge red lightning bolt. With a loud rumble, it struck downwards. Its entire body rushed towards the forest below along with the lightning bolt. It was as if it wanted to strike the forest below into ashes. The lightning bolt carried with it a shocking might and went further and further away. The huge dragon was eager to vent its anger. It passed through the clouds, the lightning bolt, and the trees. It looked like it was about to hit the ground. Suddenly, a figure appeared from behind a tree. He wore a white robe with blue trim, and his hair was a little messy. He raised his head slightly and directly met the huge dragon's eyes. As if he was used to waving and greeting, he said, "Hey, long worm." Chapter 239. The black dragon's eyes widened, and it subconsciously closed its mouth to swallow the lightning it had just spat out. Its body stiffened, but it was too late to turn around, and it was unable to stop its onslaught. With a rumble, the black dragon's huge dragon head plunged into the ground, and like a giant shovel, it directly uprooted a huge ancient tree beside it. All Shining heard was a crash. The ancient tree drew a perfect arc in the air and fell to the ground. She could faintly hear a cracking sound coming from the black dragon's body. It sounded like something was broken. "Hey, are you still alive?" Shunning picked up a tree branch and poked at the creature whose head was still buried in the ground. Why did he pretend to be a pangolin? His bones were broken, right? Shunning looked carefully at the dragon in front of her. "You're not that long worm from the park director, are you?" Although he had grown bigger, he might have been fed better food. The dragon's body stiffened, as if he had just regained his senses. He pulled his head out of the ground and jumped more than 10 meters away. He looked at the person in front of him in horror. Great immortal, you. Why are you here? Isn't this the divine realm? You really are a long worm." Shining was a little surprised. "Hey, long time no see. You look different. Even his horns had changed. Great immortal, I have already transformed into a winged dragon. Naturally, I will look like a dragon. The black dragon trembled out of habit and took a step back weakly. And I am now the same as Bai Zhe, a divine race. Oh, Shining nodded. She imitated Father Nyo and praised him in a commercial manner. You work very hard. Great immortal, you flatter me. The black dragon chuckled. Ever since great immortal ascended, hundreds of thousands of years have passed in the Azure world. Naturally, wait, you aren't immortal? He seemed to have thought of something important. He scanned the immortal chi around Shuning that had not completely dissipated. A cold light flashed in his eyes. Even the fear in his eyes faded. Shuning hesitated for a moment before nodding. I guess so. Then it heaved a long sigh of relief and looked straight at Shuning. Its body lit up with red lightning again, and its mouth curved into a sinister smile. That's great. Huh? Shuning tilted her head. Ha ha ha. It suddenly let out a burst of cold laughter, and the lightning on its body brightened. Almost forgot. I'm already a god. Do you think I'm afraid of you? What can a mere immortal do to me? With that said, he suddenly leaped and pounced towards Shuning. Is he itching for a beating? 2 minutes later. Exalted goddess, I was wrong. In the future, I will be your worm when I live, and I will be your dead worm when I die. As long as you command me, I will go through fire and water. I will go through water and tread on fire without hesitation. It's not that serious. Shuning frowned. I just want to ask you for a favor. Please give me your instructions, exalted goddess. I just arrived in this world and got separated from Chef and the others. She looked around in confusion. Bring me out of this forest first. Yes, exalted goddess. No problem, exalted goddess. Leave it to me, exalted goddess. The black dragon nodded vigorously. Exalted goddess, do you know roughly where the person you're looking for is? I don't know. They disappeared the moment I arrived in the divine world. Then, how long have you been in this forest, exalted goddess? For 5-6 months? She had forgotten. The black dragon, this forest isn't that big. How did you manage to get out of it after spending a few months? Then, exalted goddess, why don't we get out of here first? The black dragon asked tentatively. Afraid that she was unwilling, he added, exalted goddess, don't worry. Before you find the person you're looking for, I'll be by your side. All right. Shuning nodded very agreeably. Thank you for your hard work. It's my job, my job. The black dragon chuckled. Then, can I trouble exalted goddess to pull me out of this rock on the ground? This should be a divine mystic rock. It's too hard. I think I'm stuck. That's why she had to do it herself, when they could talk nicely. Wait a minute. Shuning retracted her foot from the dragon's head. She looked around and picked up its tail. She remembered that it said the rock was too hard, so she exerted a little more force. She tightened her grip and pulled hard with a loud, tearing sound. The black dragon was still stuck in the rock. Shuning had half of the dragon's tail in her hand. Shuning, Ayo! A blood-curdling screech instantly spread through the entire forest. It carried along the echoes of the screech, echoing endlessly. I'm sorry. I didn't expect this rock to be so hard. Shuning scratched her head apologetically. She immediately changed her strategy. Why don't I break the rock? With that said, she clenched her fist and punched the ground. There was a series of cracking sounds. Cracks spread out like a spider web. The huge rock under their feet collapsed instantly and shattered into pieces. The black dragon, who could finally move, froze in place. Why did it suddenly feel that it was extremely lucky not to be beaten to death just now? Let's go. Shuning jumped down from the pile of rocks. She took 2 steps, but the black dragon did not follow. Longworm, why are you standing there? Aren't you going? The black dragon's whole body trembled. It looked at the rubble on the ground in fear. My legs. My legs are weak. All 4 of your legs are weak. Shuning glanced at it and sighed. She turned around and said kindly, Why don't you? I'll carry you. No. There's no need. The black dragon jumped up. A black light flashed on its body, and it turned into a man dressed in black. I can walk. Thank you, exalted goddess. Shining did not mind. Long worm, which way? Why don't we go east? The black dragon pointed to the right and followed behind her like a little wife. All right. Shining started walking. Exalted goddess, east is on your right. Oh. She immediately turned in another direction. Exalted goddess, that's left. A quarter of an hour later, a light breeze swept through the forest. A man dressed in green landed on the pile of rubble that the two of them had just left. His eyes were red, and he looked angrily at the rubble on the ground. Damn it! Who destroyed the Supreme Divinity's divine mystic stone? He waved his hand. Instantly, a faint layer of white fog appeared on the divine mystic stone. It began to slowly gather and take shape. In a short while, it turned into the shape of a dragon. Even its color turned black. So it's a black dragon. The man's expression became even more furious. Damn it! He waved his sleeves. Instantly, a huge aura exploded from his body. In an instant, half of the forest behind him collapsed. The man glanced at the rubble on the ground. Once again, he turned into a light breeze and disappeared. At this moment, Shining, who was outside the forest, was looking at the endless grassland in front of her in surprise. Wow, it really came out. Chapter 240. Shining, who had no sense of direction for a few months, could not help but praise the worm beside her. Good job, long worm. Of course. The black dragon smiled humbly. The forest wasn't that big anyway. Exalted goddess, what do you plan to do next? Shining thought about it and glanced at the path in front of her. Let's go to a crowded place first. Chef would probably come looking for her. Perhaps they would bump into each other. The key was, did you bring anything to eat? She was really not used to not having anything to eat. Eat what? The black dragon shuddered. He was instantly reminded of the beast hide that had been cut in half. His face turned pale. Exalted goddess, I've been undergoing grain liberation since I was very young, so I don't. Oh, Shining looked disappointed. She turned and scanned the black dragon from head to toe. She seemed to have discovered something. Longworm, you bada? Before she could finish her sentence, the black dragon's legs gave way and he fell to his knees. He started wailing, Exalted goddess, I can't eat it. I still need to show you the way. Also, my meat tastes really bad, really. No, exalted goddess, have you forgotten that I'm a demonic WYRM? My entire body is poisonous. If you eat me, you'll have diarrhea. Actually, I know you're hungry, but I still want to get married and have a nest of little dragons. I won't die in peace, exalted goddess. The corner of Shun Ying's mouth twitched. What nonsense was this? I'm not going to eat you. Exalted God, I'm not. The black dragon was stunned, and his tears stopped. He looked at Shun Ying in disbelief. You're not? Yes. She nodded. I don't know how to cook. The chef wasn't even here. The black dragon heaved a long sigh of relief, looking as if he had just escaped death. That's good. What did the exalted goddess want to say? Shun Ying glanced at him. Oh, I wanted to remind you to change your clothes. What did that mean? Don't you know there's a big hole in your clothes? Shun Ying pointed at his back. Exalted goddess, you must be joking. The black dragon explained seriously. My black robe is still formed from dragon scales. It won't. He subconsciously touched his back and felt a cool sensation. His body instantly stiffened. Don't you feel that but is a little cold? A while later, a blood-curdling scream pierced through the air. He had forgotten that half of his tail fin had been torn off, and he had actually walked through the entire forest with his butt bare. There was no hope for a dragon's life. The dragon and the man walked aimlessly for more than an hour. Only when they passed through a grassland did they gradually see other figures. The black dragon could only tell from their breaths that most of them were from the God clan in human form. However, they might have used some kind of concealment spell, so the black dragon could not see through their original forms. They asked around, but no one had seen I Ching and Lone Moon. But the further east they went, the more people they saw. In less than a moment, there were already dozens of figures flying with them in the sky. These people seemed to be flying in the same direction, as if they were in a hurry to go somewhere. There was a faint look of excitement on their faces, and they were flying rather anxiously. This little brother. Shuning waved at the person closest to her. The person next to him stopped and looked around blankly. Here, here. Shuning hurriedly waved her hand in front of his eyes. The person paused for a moment before noticing her presence. Fellow Taoist, what's the matter? Where are you going? Shuning did not hear any news about Chef and Father Neo, so she asked casually. You don't know? The person looked at her in surprise. We are naturally heading to the Lingtai Mountain to attend the Great Dharma Assembly. We're going to listen to Supreme Divinity Hong Yu's Tao lecture. Supreme Divinity Hong Yu? Who? Supreme Divinity only opens a Tao hall once every 1,000 years, and each time it's only for 3 days. The person explained excitedly. Supreme Divinity's dharmic powers are very strong. Everyone who listened to his Tao lecture benefited greatly, and their cultivation levels increased greatly. That's why everyone is so anxious to get a good seat on the Lingtai Mountain. I also specially rushed over from the north. Are there many people going to this great Dharma assembly? Of course. He nodded vigorously. In the entire divine underworld, who doesn't want to receive Supreme Divinity's guidance? Not to mention the divine races, even the wild spirits can be enlightened by him. It's not impossible for them to step into the great Tao. Oh, little girl, I have to go first. If I'm late, there will be too many people. I'm afraid I won't be able to squeeze up the mountain. Thank you. You're welcome. He nodded kindly at her, then sped up and flew away on his cloud. Exalted Goddess, do you want to go to that great Dharma assembly? The black dragon turned to look at Shuning, who was sitting on his cloud. Shuning nodded. There should be many people at the public class. It would also be convenient for her to put up a missing person notice or something. What the hell was a public class? The black dragon did not dare to ask. He obediently sped up and flew in the direction of the crowd. The longworm flew very quickly. In a short while, a huge floating mountain suddenly appeared between the clouds in front of them. It was different from the majestic heavenly palaces in the immortal world. The entire floating mountain was surrounded by 7-colored divine light, as if it was glowing. It was especially eye-catching. There is also a moving sea of clouds at the bottom of the mountain. A bridge made of lotus flowers extended from the bottom of the mountain to the huge lotus platform in front of them. The lotus platform was very wide, and there were already many immortals standing on it. At a rough estimate, there were thousands of them. Every one of them was surrounded by blue god power. The only difference was the amount. Most of the divine races maintained their human forms, but there were also some who looked like beasts that Shuning had never seen before. So many divine races. The black dragon's eyes widened. He scanned the beast-shaped people one by one, his face full of surprise. This was the first time he saw so many different divine races. The strange thing was that there was no dragon race in the middle. The scene was very lively. Although there were many people, they were very orderly. They all lined up according to the order in which they came. There were no signs of arguing or cue cutting. The scene was very harmonious. This was indeed the highest level of the divine world. Exalted Goddess. The black dragon stopped in the air and looked inquiringly at Shuning. Let's line up first. She pointed downwards. The two of them fell at the back of the line. Longworm asked. She pointed at the people who were falling behind. All right. The black dragon immediately went forward and asked the people at the back of the line. Unfortunately, they still did not get any clues. They could only go in and ask. The line advanced very quickly. In a short while, they were already at the front. Only then did they realize that there was a huge array in front of the lotus platform, but there was no one guarding it. There were only a few rows of dazzling golden words floating in the air beside it. Beer Platform Dharma Assembly. Education without discrimination. Apart from the dragon race. Shuning, Black Dragon. Why did they discriminate against the dragon race? What did they do? And the 4 words at the back, they were obviously added later, right? They were obviously smaller, weren't they? Chapter 241. Exalted Goddess. The black dragon turned to look at Shuning. What do we do? Don't worry, let's go in first. Shinning gave him a look and lowered her voice. No one recognized you as a dragon just now anyway. Is it really possible? Don't worry, it's all right. Shinning patted her chest and promised. After some thought, she added, I'm here, what's there to be afraid of? That's right, there's still the exalted goddess. The black dragon made up his mind and stepped into the door. In an instant, there was a series of swishing sounds. More than 10 spirit swords appeared all around and landed under the black dragon's legs, surrounding him in the middle. The red light under his feet shone brightly. At the same time, thousands of swords appeared above his head. The swords were aimed at him and rained down on him. The black dragon, everyone, what happened to being fine? The black dragon was a dragon after all. Although the sword array came suddenly, he reacted very quickly. He subconsciously transformed into his dragon form and rushed forward, dodging the sword rain in time. In an instant, a huge black dragon appeared on the Lotus Road in front of him. The gods who were just chatting and greeting each other fell dead silent. Thousands of eyes were fixed on the black dragon. He suddenly had a bad feeling. Dragon. It's a dragon. No one knew who shouted, but for a moment, everyone seemed to be ignited. They all stared at it with their eyes wide open. Black dragon. It's a black dragon. It must be the one supreme divinity is looking for. Catch him. Instantly, everyone present seemed to have been ignited. They took out their Dharma artifacts and cast their arts. A huge sea of people pressed towards the darkness. Even the Ling Time Mountain, which was not far away, flew out in an instant. The black dragon could only summon lightning to attack the Dharma artifacts in the air. He looked at Shinning. What do we do? Save me. Shinning scanned the crowd in front of her and said decisively, run. In the next moment, there was a whoosh and a cloud of dust rose from the Lotus platform. There were too many people. Fighting was tiring. The black dragon. Didn't he say that he would protect him? The black dragon didn't even have time to feel sad. He slapped the person beside him away with his tail and turned to chase after him, running for his life. The onlookers, what a fast figure, but why was he running towards the supreme divinity's Ling Time Mountain? Walk right in the trap? Just as the two of them were about to reach the foot of the Ling Time Mountain, a golden lotus suddenly descended from the sky. With a clang, the petals instantly closed and wrapped around the black dragon. The black dragon was caught off guard and crashed head first into the petals. Instantly, he felt stars before his eyes, and all the divine power in his body was sealed. Outside the lotus, Shit, he got the wrong way. The black dragon, why was he the one who was hurt? Why was it always him? Ling Time Mountain, Flamboyant Hall. An oppressive pressure filled the entire hall. A dozen or so heavenly gods with unfathomable cultivation bases sat on either side, each of them glaring furiously at the black dragon trapped in the lotus. How dare you, evil dragon! You destroyed the supreme divinity's divine, mystic stone, and you still dare to behave atrociously on the Ling Time Mountain. Do you know your crimes? A person on the right walked out and looked at him furiously. What divine mystic stone? The black dragon hesitated for a moment, then glared at them angrily. It's my fault for barging in, but don't try to frame me. You still dare to quibble. That person's expression turned cold. He immediately used a spell, and a water mirror appeared in the hall. On it, an image could be seen faintly. Do you recognize this place? The black dragon took a closer look and realized that it seemed to be a forest. The lush greenery looked a little familiar, especially the pile of gravel on the ground. Wait a minute. Wasn't this the stone that exalted goddess Shin slapped him into previously? He could even vaguely see the groove in the pile of gravel where his original shape was. The divine mystic stone that he was stuck in belonged to that supreme divinity. I have indeed been to this place before. The black dragon coughed and said, but this stone was not broken by me. The divine mystic stone in this bewitching forest was placed here by supreme divinity Hong Yu. He personally set up an array to nourish it. That person snorted coldly, and his voice became even more furious. I want to take a look. The remnant aura in the gravel was your aura. If it was not you, then who did it? The black dragon choked. He did not dare to say who it was. _Oh, it's me. Shining raised her hand. Ooh, that person was shocked. He looked around before noticing the woman standing beside the black dragon. Who are you? What did you barge in? It was not just him. All the gods in the hall were shocked. In order to prevent the black dragon from escaping, there was an isolation array outside the hall so that no one could enter. When did this woman appear, they actually did not notice at all. I've been here all along. Shenying's mouth twitched. Ever since they caught the black dragon and brought him in. The person who asked the question's expression darkened. He scanned her from head to toe and realized that there was not a trace of god power in her body. He immediately relaxed. With such low god power, it was no wonder that they did not notice her. Little girl, what do you mean by what you said just now? That stone. Shining pointed at the water mirror. Maybe I was the one who smashed it. The black dragon immediately said obsequiously, You can't blame the exalted goddess for this. Your stone is too weak. The exalted goddess smashed it with a light punch. How dare you call it the divine mystic stone? You're saying that it was this woman who smashed the divine mystic stone directly? That person's expression darkened even more. He looked at the black dragon coldly. That's right. Nonsense. That person became even more furious. He slammed the table and stood up. You black dragon, you have no sense of shame. You destroyed the supreme divinity's divine mystic stone first. Not only do you not know how to repent, you even try to make connections with her? Hey, I'm telling the truth. Shut up. The divine mystic stone is the hardest divine stone in the divine underworld. Even the true fire of the phoenix race might not be able to refine it. How could it be smashed with one punch? Do you think I'm blind? You're really blind. The more he spoke, the angrier he became. He looked like he wanted to smash the black dragon's head. Even the other gods beside him started to criticize the black dragon. I didn't think that the dragon race of the 4 great divine races would have such a shameless dragon. That's right, a bunch of lies. In order to escape punishment, he actually made up such an excuse. That little girl looks like a little god who just ascended to the deity position. How could she have such god power? This unrepentant evil dragon must be dealt with severely. That's right. The supreme divinity is coming to preach soon. This matter must be resolved before he returns. The black dragon. In this day and age, no one believed the truth. Shun Ying, I can only help you this much. Fellow Taoists, how do you think we should deal with this dragon? The person at the head of the left stepped forward and asked the gods with cupped fists. The black dragon lost its balance and almost fell into the ground again. Fortunately, Shun Ying, who had been following by its side, pulled it up in time to prevent its face from hitting the ground. Thank you, exalted goddess. The black dragon thanked her with a bitter expression. But, exalted goddess, can you not pull my tail next time? Half of it was already gone. It really hurt. All right. He had gotten used to it. The black dragon rubbed his tail, feeling wronged. He glanced at Shun Ying and asked, Exalted goddess, why didn't you beat them up just now? She promised to protect him. Because, Shun Ying said seriously, I'm in the wrong. No matter what, she was the one who broke the rock. She emphasized, I'm a reasonable person. Moreover, she was not the one who took the blame. The black dragon. Why is your way of reasoning different from mine? Oh, greater than over equal to. Oh, the black dragon looked around. He could feel the thick dragon chi around him, making him feel extremely comfortable. Even the wound on his tail was healing automatically. He was even more confused. To a dragon, this seemed like a good place. Why did they throw me here? Didn't they say they were going to punish him? There was no reason for them to send him to such a good place. Shining shook her head. Just as she was thinking about it, a surprised voice suddenly sounded. There's a newcomer. A gust of wind blew past them. 2 women, one in white and one in green, suddenly landed in front of them. They were looking in the direction of the black dragon with shining eyes. That's great. It's a male dragon. Let's send him to the dragon palace. All right, the other woman in green said excitedly. Supreme Divinity has been in a bad mood recently. It's just right to send him there. Yes. although he's a little ugly and lacks a tail fin. The woman in white scanned the black dragon from head to toe. Supreme Divinity probably won't mind. With that said, the two of them walked towards the black dragon. Who are you two? The black dragon immediately got up, swung his tail, and roared at the two. What do you want? Of course we want to send you to the Dragon Palace to be Supreme Divinity's husband's servant. The woman in green said matter-of-factly. Didn't you enter the Dragon Abyss for this? Husband's servant. S.B. What the hell? The black dragon felt that his male dignity was being insulted. His eyes widened and he scolded. Who wants to be someone's husband's servant? I'm a dignified dragon. How can anyone think that way? Wait a minute. Could it be that the people who captured him sent him here to make him a ghost husband servant? Could there really be a perverted supreme divinity in the Dragon Abyss who specialized in capturing male dragons? Damn, he did not want to be someone's boy toy. You black dragon, why are you so unreasonable? The woman in green glared at him with some dissatisfaction. You're already in the Dragon Abyss. Are you not here to be Supreme Divinity's husband's servant? Are you here to have fun? I was kidnapped and brought here. The black dragon was angry and annoyed. Your Supreme Divinity must be too ugly to marry. You want me to marry her? Dream on. I sell my skills, not my body. How dare you? The two girls were angry. They pointed at him and said, How dare you be rude to Supreme Divinity? The black dragon was also angry. Get lost. Otherwise, I'll eat you. With that said, he prepared to pounce on the two girls. His dragon claws were about to grab them. The two girls' expressions turned cold. Suddenly, their bodies shook, and in the next moment, they turned into two huge dragons, one green and one white. Their bodies looked even bigger than the black dragon. Huh, they were dragons too. The black dragon was stunned. Before he could react, he was directly suppressed by the two dragons. His entire body was pressed to the ground. Where did this country bumpkin come from? How dare you be rude to Supreme Divinity? You're just a crippled dragon without a tail. How dare you talk big about marrying Supreme Divinity? Dream on. To be able to be a servant and warm Supreme Divinity's bed is a blessing from my previous life. That's right. Why would Supreme Divinity fancy a lowly dragon like you? You don't know your place. Beat him up. The black dragon howled miserably as it was grabbed. For a moment, its black scales fluttered in the air. Ow! I'm going to die. I'm going to die. Exalted goddess. Exalted goddess. Save me, exalted goddess. They're dragons too. Save me. Save me. Shun-ing. Can't you learn from your mistakes? Shun-ing sighed. She turned around and grabbed the tails of the two dragons with each hand. Girls, calm down. Just as she was about to pull them off the black dragon, a cold voice came from behind. What's the commotion? Chapter 243. A scorching aura hit them in the face. The surroundings were dyed fiery red. A fire dragon formed from lava appeared in front of them. A woman dressed in red stood on the dragon's head. Her long hair was tied up high, and light blue divine power surrounded her body. She seemed to have deliberately restrained it. From afar, one could feel an oppressive power. Her aura was astonishing. What was important was her face. She was extremely beautiful, but had a rare, heroic spirit. Wow, she looked like a mature sister. The black dragon was stunned. For a moment, it forgot to struggle. Greetings, Supreme Divinity. The two dragons that were pressing down on it and rubbing the dragon's scales stopped. In an instant, they transformed back into the two cute girls from before. They obediently bowed to the person on the fire dragon, their eyes filled with joy. Supreme Divinity, you're back so soon. The woman nodded. She glanced at the two of them and slowly walked down from the fire dragon. Every move she made carried the suppressive power of a high-level divine. The moment she landed, the fire dragon behind her turned back into ordinary lava. What happened here? She glanced at the dragon's scales on the ground and frowned slightly. Supreme Divinity, the woman in green said, we found a black dragon that broke in. We wanted to send him to the Dragon Palace. But not only was he unwilling, he even spoke disrespectfully to Supreme Divinity. We were so angry that The woman's gaze fell on the black dragon. Black dragon? The black dragon did not reply. It was as if its acupuncture points had been hit. It stared blankly at the woman above it. So beautiful. The dragon chi on his body. The woman suddenly frowned. She looked at the lingering spirit chi on the black dragon's body. So he's a little dragon that just ascended from the lower realm. Forget it. She sighed and waved her hand. He must have broken in unintentionally. Let him go. But Supreme Divinity, according to the rules of the Dragon Abyss, any dragon that enters has to be tested. The girl in green wanted to say something, but was interrupted by the woman. She said sternly, I'm not one to force others to do something they don't want to do. Since he's unwilling, let him out of the Dragon Abyss. Without another word, the lava under her feet once again formed a fire dragon. She turned and flew in the direction of the hall at the foot of the volcano. Yes. The two girls bowed respectfully and waited until the red-clothed girl walked away. Only then did the two of them turn and glare at the black dragon fiercely, their faces filled with disdain. However, they did not continue to attack. Instead, they pointed at it and coldly said, Count yourself lucky. The girl in green took a step forward and kicked the black dragon's claw. Our supreme divinity is the dragon with the highest cultivation level in the dragon clan. Furthermore, he possesses the most noble bloodline of the ancient Azure Dragon, and he is the dragon god of our race. You're just a mixed blood dragon from the lower realm. How dare you criticize the Divine Lord? That's right. As expected, there aren't any good dragons out there. You can't defeat the Divine Lord, so you only know how to talk behind the Divine Lord's back. This time, the Divine Lord has ordered us to let you go. If you dare to disrespect the Divine Lord again, we'll beat you up every time we see you. The two of them reprimanded the black dragon for a bit, but seeing that the black dragon didn't reply, they pointed to the right and said, The way out is over there. Get out of the dragon abyss. After saying that, he turned around and flew away. The black dragon, on the other hand, was unusually well behaved. He didn't retort, let alone explode in anger. He just stared blankly in the direction the group had left in, as if he had been struck dumb. Long worm, you're still alive? Long worm? Long worm. Shining called out a few times, but the black dragon didn't react at all. He continued to stare in the direction of the volcano, as if he was frozen in place. Hey! Shining walked to the side of the dragon's head and waved her hand in front of his eyes. Wake up. You haven't been beaten silly, have you? Exalted goddess. The black dragon suddenly jumped up and transformed back into his human form. His eyes shone like light bulbs. Tell me, if I agree to be your servant now, do I still have a chance? King retard. Are you a freaking masochist? Exalted goddess, why don't we go to the Dragon Valley and ask around? I don't even know her name. Maybe I'm not going. Shun-Ing rejected him instantly. Exalted goddess. The black dragon's entire body became listless. Tears welled up in his eyes as he hugged her leg. This is the first time I've met a girl I like. If I miss this chance, I might not get another chance in the future. Can you bear to let me not find a wife for the rest of my life? Of course I can. Did he have to be so direct? Exalted goddess, I'll go and ask around. If she doesn't accept, we'll come back immediately. The black dragon continued to persuade her. What's more, the dragon chi here is very thick. There should be many dragons here. It would be convenient for Exalted Goddess to ask around. I'm not going. It would be better to go back to the map. Exalted Goddess, just listen to me this once. One look, and you can tell that the inside of the volcano is an important place for the dragon race. Although it looks scary on the outside, there's a whole new world inside. There might be all kinds of rare treasures and divine stones, strange flowers and fruits, rare delicacies, and the like. Exalted Goddess, are you sure? Where's she? Exalted Goddess. Exalted Goddess? Why are you standing there like a fool? Let's go. Shining waved a hand in front of her. Why didn't you say so earlier that there was food to eat? The black dragon's mouth twitched. He quickly followed her. All right, Exalted Goddess. No problem, Exalted Goddess. Please go this way, Exalted Goddess. That's the way back. Oh. Shining turned around and walked in the direction of the volcano. As she walked, she muttered to herself, "Also, I was going to break up with you and look for Chef on my own. It looks like we still have to work together for a while." What? Nanny, what did he just hear? Break up? The exalted goddess was going to set him free? No. Exalted goddess, listen to my explanation. It's not too late to break up now. Also, Longworm, why don't you change your clothes? Don't use your scales as clothes. It's fine if it's just but in the past, but now your entire lower body is naked. Won't you catch a cold? Oofed. He could vaguely see a pillar of blood spurting out, which did not fall for a long time. At the top of the Ling Time Mountain, a white-haired elder stood beside a pool. A water mirror floated in front of him. He laughed softly and suddenly spoke. "We haven't seen each other for 10,000 years. Why are you suddenly sending me a voice transmission? Asking about someone?" A cold voice came from the water mirror in front of him. It sounded like a heavenly voice. The surface of the mirror rippled. A white-robed man's figure could be vaguely seen. The elder's smile deepened. "Who's so important? Thank you for asking personally." "A black dragon," the voice replied. "He probably just ascended recently." "Black dragon?" The elder thought for a moment. "I heard that a few days ago, a black dragon broke into the Ling Time Mountain. It seems to be the one that destroyed my divine mystic stone not long ago. However, before the Dharma assembly began, he was sent to the Dragon Abyss for punishment by the gods who came to listen to the Dharma assembly. Could it be that you are friends with this dragon?" The person in the mirror frowned. "You don't have to worry. Others may not know, but you should know what that person in the Dragon Abyss is like. I'm sure he won't make things difficult for him." The elder comforted. "If you really have something urgent, I'll send someone to get him back." Chapter 244. "No need," the person in the mirror replied. "We're just old acquaintances." I suddenly thought of asking. The image in the mirror started to fade and was about to disappear. "Wait." The old man seemed to recall something and hurriedly said, "You're not still at the 1,000-feet mountain, are you?" The person in the mirror did not reply. It was as if she was admitting it. "AI, why do you have to do this?" The old man sighed. "I think that exalted God Qianyu is not lying to you. He really doesn't know. Why do you have to stay there and force him to tell you? Even if he really doesn't know." The person in the mirror lowered her voice, as if she had been wronged. "She will definitely appear. You." The old man was speechless. A moment later, he shook his head. "Forget it. I hope you can really find the person you're looking for." The other party did not reply. The mirror slowly shook and turned into a stream of water that fell into the pool below. The old man stroked his beard and sighed again. "AI people at this age. Dragon Palace." The woman on the high seat looked at the messenger with some surprise. "Black dragon? Is it the little black dragon who just ascended to the divine underworld in the Dragon Abyss?" "Supreme divinity, it is indeed him. Didn't he say he was unwilling just now? Why is he here now?" Long Zhen frowned, and a look of displeasure flashed across her face. "Is he afraid that I will blame him? Tell him that I will not make things difficult for him. I don't need a husband like him." "Yes." The maidservant was about to leave when another lady standing beside her stopped her. "Wait." The lady cupped her fists towards Long Zhen. "Supreme divinity, all these years, we've tried all sorts of methods. No matter how high the cultivation of the dragon race was, we've all failed. Perhaps young master's matter has nothing to do with cultivation. This black dragon has just ascended. Perhaps we'll bump into him. There's no harm in trying, right? But he just ascended and he's a black dragon." Long Zhen hesitated. "Supreme divinity, we can wait, but young master can't." Her expression turned even more serious. A moment later, she sighed and turned to the maidservant. "Forget it. Let's try. Bring him to the dragon pool. I'll be there in a while." "Yes." Only then did the maid leave. He agreed. The black dragon couldn't believe his ears. This was the first time he had fallen in love with a girl. It was a pity that the start was not very good. He thought that the other party would definitely be angry with him, but it turned out that he was just trying his luck and begging the exalted deity to let him come. He didn't expect the other party to agree immediately. He wasn't dreaming, right? When he thought of that woman just now, although he was just a husband's servant with no status, At least he had the opportunity to get close to her. Chapter 245. The Black Dragon Froze. Does she have to be so direct? Your clothes are not made of dragon scales. It's useless even if you wear them. Anyway, you have to take them off. Longjun said seriously. Oh, since the girl had taken the initiative to speak, the black dragon gritted his teeth and took off his shirt, leaving only his pants on, revealing his muscular body. Longjun glanced at his long pants and frowned. Take off your pants too. That's not good, right? The black dragon's face turned red. He instinctively grabbed his pants. If he took them off, they would be locked up. Forget it. Let's do it. Longjun saw his hesitation and did not rush him. Let's begin. With that, she reached out a hand to him. The black dragon's entire body turned as red as a shrimp. His heart felt like it was about to jump out of his chest. He could not help but reach out his trembling hand. It looked like he was about to grab this jade-like hand. Longjun suddenly turned her palm and grabbed his wrist. Then, she swung her hand forcefully. What? The black dragon only heard a gust of wind beside his ears. His entire body was thrown into the air. A huge dragon aura pressed down on him, forcing him back into his dragon form. Were all dragon ladies so direct? He didn't have time to react, and a scorching aura immediately hit him in the face. He looked down subconsciously, only to see a huge pool of lava below him. The boiling lava was bubbling, and he was falling straight into the middle. The black dragon jumped in fright and screamed. For a moment, he forgot about the cloud-soaring sorcery. What was going on? I'm going to die. I'm going to die. Just as he was about to fall into the lava, a burst of light suddenly flashed, and he stopped less than 5 feet away from the lava. Rumbling sounds could be heard as something rose up from the lava below him. There was a huge ball on top of it, and it rose to the position of the formation, pressing against his dragon abdomen. The black dragon did not have time to react. His body seemed to be out of his control. He wrapped himself tightly around the ball. It's getting late. You can familiarize yourself with its aura first. Longjun's worried voice came from below. Tomorrow, I will teach you how to hatch it. Please try your best and hatch my child as soon as possible. Hatch? What? He looked down and saw a snow-white object stuck tightly to his belly. It was round and big, with a faint dragon aura, and there were layers of dragon patterns on it. This was a dragon egg. All he felt was a ding in his head, and all the fan bubbles disappeared with a pop. Only then did he realize what had happened. Could it be that she was looking for her husband just to incubate eggs? And it was her son. W*******, 2 hours later in the front hall. Exalted Goddess. A figure pounced on Shun-Ing, who was sitting on a chair. His voice was filled with grief. Even Shun-Ing, who had eaten 5 plates of fruits, was shocked. She subconsciously lifted her leg and stepped on his face, causing his face to sink into the ground. What the hell? It hurts, it hurts, it hurts, it hurts. Exalted Goddess, it's me, it's me. The person on the ground hurriedly slapped the ground and begged for mercy. Longworm? Shun-Ing lifted her foot and glanced at the disheveled man who was pulling his head out of the ground. She had only been eating fruits. How did he end up like this? She looked down. Why was his pants torn? Was it cool? What's wrong with you? The black dragon was stunned. Suddenly, he remembered something sad and became listless. Exalted Goddess, so Longjun is that supreme divinity. She doesn't like me at all. Sob, 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 oh. Did anyone doubt that? The more he spoke, the sadder he became. He wanted to hug Xin-Ying's leg for comfort, but was kicked away again. She took me in as her husband just to incubate her eggs. Oh, she even wanted me to incubate for 4 hours every day until they hatch. Oh, I didn't expect her to have an egg. I don't have a chance anymore. Sob, 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 sob. I'm so sad. Oh, I heard that the egg hasn't hatched even after hundreds of thousands of years. Maybe I'll have to incubate for hundreds of thousands of years too. The key is someone else's son. Oh, that's not all. That egg is huge and heavy. There's another dragon's aura on it. I'm actually not her only egg-incubating dragon. Air, is that what you care about? Exalted Goddess. Seeing that Shan had no intention of comforting him, the black dragon's heart ached even more. I've been gone for so long. Don't you have anything to say? He looked up pitifully. His expression was one of comfort, concern, and hug. The corner of Shun Ying's mouth twitched. She sighed and said, "Long worm. Pitiful, pitiful, pitiful. Was the egg you incubated white?" "Yes." The black dragon paused. "It was about the same size as your human form. The one with silver patterns on it?" "Yes." "How did the exalted goddess know?" Then, Shuning pointed outside the door. "Was it the same as the one behind you?" "Huh?" Black Dragon was taken aback. She subconsciously turned around and saw a huge egg rolling in from outside the door. It was heading in their direction at an extremely fast speed. Dragon, dragon, dragon egg. The black dragon's eyes widened. "Why is it? Ouch." Before he could finish speaking, the dragon egg seemed to have rolled too fast and directly knocked into the black dragon's body. With a thud, it knocked him away and stopped steadily in front of Shun-Ing. Shun-Ing scanned the egg, which was as tall as a human. It was indeed a huge egg, but here was the problem: longworm. She poked at the eggshell and asked seriously, "Can this be eaten?" The smell was so familiar. The black dragon finally reacted. He climbed up from the ground. "Exalted goddess, don't joke around. But how did this egg get here?" He looked around carefully, but did not find anyone else's aura. Dragon eggs cannot leave the incubation pool for too long. Exalted goddess, what are you doing? You really want to eat it?" The black dragon hurriedly grabbed onto a certain person who was climbing up the egg. He held onto her hands tightly. "Exalted goddess, I beg you. This really can't be eaten. You can't be eaten." The person who was about to climb up the egg asked, "Just one bite." Not even one bite. This was her son, not an ordinary egg. "Wait, you can't bite it, exalted goddess." Roar suddenly. An angry dragon roar could be heard. The ground shook. "Who is it? Who dares to kidnap my son?" The black dragon's heart sank. It's over. Not far away, a huge red dragon silhouette shot into the sky. The entire sky seemed to have been set ablaze. It turned into a sea of red. Following that, dragons flew up from all directions. They seemed to be searching for something. That was Longjun. I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die. Oh, greater than over equal to greater than over equal to oh. If fellow Taoist doesn't mind, can you stay in the Dragon Palace for a few more days? Let me thank you on behalf of Longer. There's no need. She glanced at the child in her arms. I still need to find someone. Oh, who are you looking for? Perhaps I, Long Yuan, can help. Really? Of course. I'm looking for Exalted Goddess. Before they could finish, the black dragon suddenly interrupted. There's no hurry to find someone. You two can talk, but can you not step on me? I'm still on the ground. Shunning, Longjun, when did he get on the ground? The two of them moved their feet. Longjun thought of her son in her arms. Fellow Taoist Shun, my son is too weak now. Let me bring him down to recuperate. I'll tell you more about the search later. All right? All right. Shunning nodded. Longjun turned around with her son in her arms. She gave some instructions to the maidservants outside and was about to carry her son to the back palace. She stopped in her tracks and looked down. Her son, who had been sleeping soundly a moment ago, had opened his eyes at some point in time. He reached out a small hand from her arms and grabbed onto Shun Ying's sleeve tightly. Long Air, this is... Shun Ying's sleeve tightened. She paused. What? She was about to retract her hand when the child held on even tighter. He opened his mouth anxiously, as if using all his strength to make a sound. A moment later, he said, Mas, shining Longjun the Black Dragon. What was going on? The three of them were stunned. Even Longjun looked confused. She did not understand why her son would suddenly call him master, but she did not feel conflicted. She smiled and said, It looks like my son is fated with you. I have to prepare a big gift in advance. The Black Dragon could not help but say, This kid really knows how to talk. He knew how to suck up to someone powerful. Shining frowned. She leaned closer to take a closer look at the skinny child in front of her. Suddenly, she said, Chef? The child's eyes lit up. It was as if thousands of stars were shining in them. It really was him. She tugged at his little arm and tilted her head. Can you still cook? The child, who had just woken up, paused. In the next moment, his little face puffed up. Unlike the weak master he had called her just now, he replied clearly, yes. What a good chef. Longjun, the black dragon. Speaking of which, what did she say just now? Why did he not understand a single word she said? Chapter 247. 4 days later. Chef. Master. What's going on? I don't know. Perhaps it's as the god fiend said. The divine underworld is the highest level of the 3 realms. It's different from the mortal and immortal realms. So it makes sense that there would be some changes. Is there a way to solve this? I'm afraid it'll be difficult. This is the divine underworld after all. Perhaps only when we return to the mortal and immortal realms will it be the same as before. Oh, then what do we do? I will try my best to be the same as before. Oh, then good luck. Shining nodded and patted the little being on the shoulder. The divine world actually doesn't have small animals like pigs, cows, and sheep. I can't even get used to eating them. Yes, master. I Ching, who had to move 2 stools to reach the stove, nodded hard. He held the spatula with both hands and waved it with difficulty. This dragon abyss spirit swine has firm meat. It will definitely be able to taste like pork. I'll leave it to you. Yes. Oh yes, add more spiciness. I like spicy food. Yes, master. No problem, master. He waved the spatula even harder. The black dragon watching. What on earth were these 2 doing? Wasn't that Longjun's son who was still recuperating? Why did he come here the moment he was able to walk? Why did he bring his own pots and pans and ingredients? And what's with the exalted goddess? It's fine if he doesn't have any sense of shame, but why is he holding a bowl and watching? He's almost drooling. What's with that well-practiced commanding tone? Look carefully. That person who's about to be buried in the pot is a child. A child? Doesn't your conscience hurt? Master, it's done. I Ching finally stopped waving the spatula. His 2 little hands struggled to pick up the plate that was wider than his body. All right, let's eat. Shuning picked up the other dishes and was about to go out when she saw the black dragon standing at the door with a dumbfounded look on his face. Long worm, come and help me carry the dishes. Oh, the black dragon subconsciously responded before walking in. With a stomach full of questions, he picked up the other dishes on the stove. Just as he was about to step out of the door, he noticed that a certain kid was standing on a tall stool, staring at the ground some distance away. His little face was scrunched up. Is he unable to get down? The black dragon hurriedly put down the vegetables in his hands and reached out to him. Why don't I carry? You get down. Before he could finish speaking, he suddenly raised his little hand and made a hand seal. In an instant, a white immortal sword appeared under his feet. With a whoosh, the sword flew in front of him. In the next moment, a soft but somewhat serious voice came from the room. Master, try the stir-fried spirit swine. Isn't that invincible sex? Aren't you Longjun's son? His little face frowned. Actually, he didn't know either. He turned to look at the person beside him. Shining then got up from the table and looked at Chef, who was several sizes smaller. She said, I forgot to ask, how did you become like this? This matter. I don't know what happened. I Ching shook his little head. After I was transported to the divine realm, I was in that egg. My body suddenly became very weak. Later, I sensed Master's aura and chased after her. Only then did Master let me out. Could it be possession? The black dragon's eyes widened. Ouch! Before he could finish speaking, Shining hit the back of his head with her chopsticks. No, that's right. This is indeed my body. I Ching nodded affirmatively. Apart from becoming like this, my cultivation, spirit root, and meridians are the same as before. This is my previous body. The black dragon. If it wasn't, then it wasn't. Why did she hit him? Then, what about Longjun's original son? I don't know. He shook his head. When I was in the dragon egg, I was the only one inside. There was no one else's aura. Then what happened? The black dragon looked confused. The more he listened, the more confused he became. That was clearly a dragon egg. It couldn't have been empty from the beginning. I Ching fell silent. He didn't know what was going on either. Shining poured herself a cup of tea. Suddenly, She nudged the black dragon beside her and said, "Long worm, go and call that person over." "Who?" The black dragon paused. Shining pointed at Chef. "His mother." "Oh, indeed, if anyone knew about this, it would only be Long Jean." But, although he understood, why did it sound like she was scolding him? As if she had thought of something, she clenched her fists and hesitated for a while before saying in a low voice, "When you were born, you were different from others. The dragon energy on the dragon egg was sparse, and the dragon soul was extremely weak. I heard that the power of reincarnation can nourish your dragon soul. So, you sent him into samsara?" Shen Ying's eyes narrowed. "Just like Shorty?" "Yes." She nodded. "After I sent his dragon soul into samsara, I searched for male dragons in the clan and nourished the body inside the dragon egg with dragon energy every day. I had planned to summon his soul back after his dragon soul had recovered. But I did not expect you to cultivate your mortal body into an immortal body and come to the divine world. Everyone who goes through samsara will forget their past lives. Even if I summon your dragon soul back to the divine world, you would have to go through samsara again. That's why I thought you had forgotten about it too." She looked at I Ching again, and something flashed across her eyes. "But I did not expect you to come back so early. What's more, you ascended directly from the divine world. Whether it's the dragon body in the egg or your immortal body after reincarnation, they are both your bodies. It's normal for them to be connected. Perhaps because of this, you have become one with the dragon body in the egg." Two became one. Shen Ying and I Ching exchanged a look. But they did not ascend here. They were smuggled here by god fiends. "So, you are indeed my long heir." Long Zhen stepped forward and looked lovingly at the shrunken I Ching. She exuded the glow of an old mother. "I personally sent your dragon soul down to the lower realm. I cannot be wrong." I Ching stiffened. He did not know if he was not used to her overly enthusiastic attitude, but he took another step back. That meant that his previous body had become one with the egg. Was he a human or a dragon now? "Why can I still sense the immortal bones in my body, even though my body has become like this?" His cultivation level, his spirit root, and even his sword intent were the same as before. "There's no dragon power." Long Zhen's smile deepened. "You have never sensed dragon chi before, have you?" "Dragon chi?" I Ching hesitated. He subconsciously released his divine perception. Immediately, an unfamiliar aura surged in. He felt his sea of consciousness ring and something open. His body flashed with golden light. The next moment, the little being on the ground disappeared, and a shining golden dragon appeared in the room. In an instant, it broke the roof, and the broken tiles fell to the ground. "Master." I Ching subconsciously turned to block Shen Ying's head. This caused the room to become even more ruined. In an instant, everything fell to the ground. Everything happened too quickly. By the time they reacted, only Long Worm and Long Zhen were left on the ground, their heads covered in dust. The giant dragon had already retreated a short distance away and was carefully coiling around Shen Ying. Although the dragon was not as tall as Black Dragon and Long Zhen, its entire body seemed to be bathed in sunlight. It was blinding. Gold, gold, golden dragon. The black dragon completely ignored the dust. He opened his mouth and looked at the dragon opposite him in shock. Long Zhen was shocked too. She did not expect her son to be a golden dragon. No wonder back then legend had it that golden dragons were the royalty of the dragon race. They were far more powerful than the other dragons. But golden dragons had only appeared in ancient times. I Ching was shocked too. He activated all the immortal chi in his body and found that it had become even thicker and more shocking. Could this be divine power? "Chef." Shen Ying raised her head. It really was a dragon. Only then did I Ching recover from the shock of his sudden transformation. He tried to use a spell to change back to his human form, but his body shrank and instantly turned into a small dragon that was as tall as a human. "Master, I'm not familiar with the control of divine power yet. I can't change back so quickly." He had not gotten used to his dragon form and did not know how to transform. He tried a few times but could not change back.
He could only stand on his two hind legs and pretend that he was walking. Oh, Shinning did not care about this. She only looked at his thin dragon claws. Chef, Master, can you still cook when you're like this? The two dragons. Are you only concerned about your own food? Fu asterisk K. A moment later, a resolute reply came. Yes. As if to prove it, a certain dragon turned and ran into the kitchen that had not collapsed. He grabbed the spatula with one claw, the black dragon. What happened to the royalty of the dragon race? Long Zhun, I might have given birth to a fake son. Chapter 249. The son that Long Zhun had been looking forward to for hundreds of thousands of years was finally back. What's more, he was the legendary golden dragon. Long Zhun felt that this was perfect if only he did not like to cook so much. She looked at the golden dragon who had been busy in the kitchen since noon. Long Zhun wanted to stop him. After all, he had just turned back into a dragon and needed more time to cultivate. But because he was doing this out of filial piety towards Master, she could not say anything. So before she knew it, she was already sitting at the table and eating with him. Straight face, Master, have some tea. I Ching, who was still in the form of a little golden dragon, handed a cup of tea to someone who had just finished her afternoon tea. Oh, Shuning accepted it out of habit. She looked at Chef, who was sitting obediently at the side like a cartoon dragon, pressing his claws together. She finally remembered something important. Chef, Master, can't you turn back into a human? I Ching's dragon head drooped. Not yet. Although the black dragon had already told him how to turn back into a human, he was still not familiar with this body. What's more, every time he used his god power, he would feel strangely tired. He just broke out a shell. His body is weak. It's normal that he can't turn back into a human, Long Zhun explained. Are dragons that weak? Shun Ying asked. Not really. Long Zhun frowned. Maybe he's different from other dragons. Oh, Master. I Ching suddenly recalled something. I remember that ever since I entered that egg, there seemed to be an aura suppressing me. I could not break out. Also, he frowned. The more I resisted, the weaker my body became. It was very likely because of this that he turned into this child. There's such a thing. Long Zhun was shocked. She stood up and looked him up and down. What aura is that? I Ching shook his head. I don't know either. I know, Shining suddenly said. The three dragons were shocked and turned to look at her in unison. What did she mean? Shining took out a white object from her side. Is it this? Everyone was stunned. Even Long Zhun looked curiously at the thing in her hand. It was the piece of eggshell that she had dug out from the dragon egg a few days ago. Exalted Goddess, what aura is there on it? The black dragon took a closer look. There was nothing on the eggshell. He's inside. She reached out and tore off the layer of membrane on the inside of the eggshell. Halfway through, a black chi suddenly flashed out of the eggshell. It was extremely fast. Just as it was about to rush out, Shuning reached out and grabbed it back. In the next moment, a black, smoke-like gas appeared in her hand. It was twisting desperately as if it were alive. It had a cold and gloomy aura, and it would occasionally let out a shrill scream like the cry of a ghost. Fortunately, he was originally a top student. After trying a few times, he finally succeeded in transforming back into that little being. Perhaps it was because he had begun to absorb the dragon energy for cultivation. His originally skinny body had finally gained some flesh. He looked like a baby, but he still did not grow in size. The dragon race had always relied on bloodline inheritance. Cultivation methods and whatnot did not need to be taught. He was born with it. The god power in his body began to grow at an alarming rate. In just a few days, he was already catching up to the black dragon. The black dragon felt very depressed. Originally, he wanted to go to Long Zhun to make his presence known. Unfortunately, he did not see her for a few days, so he could only come back to Shuning for comfort. But I Ching guarded against him like a thief. If he took a step closer, the black dragon looked like he wanted to hit him with a spatula. The black dragon felt like he had been abandoned by the whole world. 10 days later, Master, my cultivation has stabilized. I Ching poured a cup of tea and stood on the chair. His little body
was almost lying on the table. Then he passed the cup of tea to Shunning. The other party took it with a natural expression, took a sip, and said, "Are you ready?" "Yes." "Oh, what about the dishes?" "I've prepared them for half a month." "Pastries?" 20-odd kinds." "Fruits?" 2 storage bags should be enough." "All right." Shunning then stood up lazily. "Let's go." I Ching jumped down from the chair. Seeing the 2 figures, one tall and one short, about to leave, the black dragon finally reacted. "Wait." He blocked the 2 of them. "Where are you going?" The entire ground was covered in flames, and a scorching aura assaulted their faces. I Ching made a hand seal and set up an isolation array around the 2 of them. Only then did he rush into the half-flame and half-lightning world. "Little Jeanne, what are you doing?" A man's voice came from the flames on the ground, with a hint of helplessness in his tone. "When have I ever offended you that you want to attack me?" "Shut up." Long Jeanne stood in the sky, full of lightning. She was so angry that her body trembled. "You dared to plant ghost immortal Inchi in my son's egg. You should have thought that this day would come." "Inchi." The man paused. Instantly, a slender figure walked out of the flames. He was dressed in blue and had long red hair, just like the flames behind him. He was extremely beautiful, and there was a cinnabar up between his eyebrows. His entire body exuded a seductive aura. He looked at the woman in front of him in surprise. "What Inchi? What's wrong with your precious dragon egg? You're still pretending." Long Jeanne was even angrier. The lightning around her increased. She glared at the man and said, "Feng San, don't think I don't know. You were the one who sent the person who told me that I could use the power of reincarnation to save my son." The more she thought about it, the angrier she became. She looked at the man as if she wanted to pluck out all his feathers. "I didn't think that you would take the opportunity to instruct a ghost immortal to plant Inchi in the egg. You almost sucked my son dry." If I Ching had not returned to this world as an immortal and merged with his dragon body, if his master had not forcefully broken the eggshell, perhaps the more Long Jeanne thought about it, the more she trembled. "Feng San, I don't think I did anything wrong to you back then. You know how important my son is to me. Why did you do this to me?" I didn't." "Little Jeanne, I really don't like the dragon egg you've given birth to," Feng San said with a confused expression. "I really don't like the dragon egg you laid. I was the one who sent you to send the dragon soul into reincarnation, but I really didn't ask anyone to plant Inchi in it." "You're still trying to argue?" "In the entire divine realm, apart from you, a wandering phoenix, who else would have a relationship with a ghost immortal?" Feng San's face paled. He seemed to want to explain himself. Long Jeanne obviously did not want to listen to him anymore. The lightning around her became even fiercer. Like a sharp blade, she attacked Feng San. Feng San could only dodge and summon a wall of fire to block the lightning. "Little Jeanne, listen to me. Why would I harm you?" "Shut up." Long Jeanne's attacks became more and more intense. She attacked as if she was going to die. At first, Feng San could still defend himself, but as time went on, he found it harder and harder to defend himself. His eyes, nose, and mouth were so excited that stars seemed to float out his eyes. The more he looked at him, the more he felt that he looked like himself. This was actually his child. It was his and little Jeanne's. He stared at the child even more intently, not daring to blink for fear that he would disappear. His mouth opened and closed a few times before he managed to squeeze out 2 words. "Call me Daddy." Splat. Shunning could vaguely hear the sound of something breaking. The corner of I Ching's mouth twitched. With a swoosh, an immortal sword appeared in his hand. "Master, can I kill him?" "Shunning, calm down, chef." No matter how melodramatic it was still his own child, the kind that could not be cooked. "Oomph." Long Jeanne, who was sitting on the other side, laughed coldly. She still looked indignant. "Why do you have to pretend to acknowledge us now?" Feng San's face paled. He sighed and turned to walk toward her. "Little Jeanne, stop right there." Long Jeanne glared at him. "Stay away from me." Feng San had no choice but to return to his seat. "I really did not know that the dragon egg back then was my child. You were so resolute with me back then. In a fit of anger, I left the Dragon Abyss and returned to Wuchi Mountain. After that, I heard that you had a child. You thought the child was someone else's? Longjun laughed coldly. Feng Sen hung his head, like a child who had done something wrong. It's all my fault. All these years, I did not dare to ask you personally. I missed out on you for so many years. Longjun snorted. She took a deep breath to suppress the anger in her heart. She closed her eyes and said, I don't want to talk about what happened in the past anymore. I just want to ask you what's going on with the Yin-Chi and the Dragon Egg. I really don't know what Yin-Chi is. Feng San said anxiously. I do know 1 or 2 ghost immortals, but I only met them by chance when I was crossing the Yin River. Yin River? Longjun paused. What did you go to the Yin River? Feng Sen paused, as if he had let something slip. He subconsciously turned to look at the little figure standing beside Shening. Longjun finally reacted. Her eyes widened. The person who broke into the underworld and sent the dragon soul into samsara was you. Her expression changed. How is that possible? I clearly asked. I was the one who told him not to say. Feng San sighed. I know you best. If you knew it was me, you would not have agreed to help. Longjun fell silent. She hated him to the core. How could she have accepted his help? Feng Sen took a step forward. The love in his eyes seemed to be overflowing. He sighed and said, You don't have to worry about it. When I crossed the Yin River by force, I met a few ghost immortals by the river. Unfortunately, I was corroded by the Yin River's death chi. I accidentally awakened the ancient Fire Phoenix bloodline and became a divine supreme.